Chapter 651. The perpetual moon pills transformed into a celestial essence whirlpool, and Ningcheng did not need to stimulate it at all before it completely poured into Ningcheng's body. Ningcheng's cultivation had already reached the peak of the undead realm, and the celestial essence condensed within his body had long since begun to search for a source for a breakthrough. At this moment, Ningcheng stood on the broken meteorite and felt the celestial essence within his body rumbling. It turned out that every time he broke through a realm, he needed to blast open the barrier between realms and stimulate his celestial essence to grow stronger. But this time, he did not even try to break through the cultivation barrier. Instead, the celestial essence naturally blasted open the shackles on his cultivation. With the cultivation barrier blasted open, Ningcheng absorbed the piles of perpetual moon pills outside at a faster rate, which then turned into celestial essence. Boom boom. But before his celestial essence could reach its peak, lightning arcs descended. Ningcheng did not even prepare any defensive measures. Originally, he had advanced through the tribulation. This time, he advanced first before facing the thunder tribulation, which did not pose any challenge at all. From this, one could see how heaven-defying his mysterious yellow bead was. This time, he had advanced completely within the mysterious yellow bead. Because of the heaven-defying nature of the mysterious yellow bead, he could advance first before facing the thunder tribulation. The dense and thick lightning arcs fell on Ningcheng's body, but it only tore apart Ningcheng's clothes before turning them into thunder sources for Ningcheng to absorb. After the first wave of dozens of lightning arcs, Ningcheng only had a few bloodstains on his body except for his slightly burnt hair. As Ningcheng circulated his celestial essence, those bloodstains disappeared without a trace. As if it knew that this thunder tribulation had no effect on Ningcheng, the second wave of thunder tribulation was not much stronger than the first wave of thunder tribulation. It only contained a dozen more lightning arcs. As for the thunder beads and thunder waterfalls that Ningcheng had encountered before, he could not see them at all. Ningcheng felt a little disappointed in his heart. He could only crazily absorb these thunder sources, and then simulate them into his own lightning arcs to attack. As for using the lightning arcs of this thunder tribulation to quench his body, Ningcheng gave up after thinking about it. This thunder tribulation might be powerful to the extreme for ordinary people, but for him, it was not enough. The rumbling sounds were endless, and lightning arcs fell one after another. These lightning arcs, in addition to consolidating his cultivation, were used by Ningcheng to condense his own thunder techniques. It was just that he did not have an inheritance of thunder magic, and he had completely figured it out by himself. Although this was the most ordinary thunder tribulation that Ningcheng had ever crossed, in this empty void, the dense lightning arcs still looked very conspicuous. Catcha! As the lightning arcs blasted apart the meteorite under Ningcheng's feet, Ningcheng thoroughly consolidated his cultivation. A moment later, the lightning tribulation above his head disappeared without a trace. It was as if the lightning tribulation had come to consolidate his cultivation. Ningcheng had just cleaned himself up and put on a new set of clothes, when his spiritual consciousness swept out and detected a shadow rapidly flying towards him. A moment later, the shadow stopped in front of Ningcheng. It was a high-grade Dao artifact airship. On the deck of the flying ship stood 3 cultivators, 1 male and 2 female. One of the young women stood in the front, while a man and a woman stood on her left and right, seemingly the subordinates of this young female cultivator. Ningcheng's eyes narrowed slightly. He noticed that although the 2 female cultivators were Heaven's Mandate cultivators, the male cultivator had already reached the heaven-seated realm. When he killed Shang Mouyang, it was under favorable circumstances. Not only that, but he had also used all of his mechanisms. Later, when he fought against Mi Jin suffered a severe backlash and did not dare to use her full strength. At most, she could only bring out 30 to 40% of her cultivation to fight against him. Even so, he still ended up at a disadvantage. Although his cultivation was a few levels higher than before, he still did not feel that he could defeat a heaven-seated cultivator. There was a huge gap between the heaven-seated realm and the Heaven's Mandate realm, and this gap could not be filled with anything else. Were you the one who caused the lightning arcs to linger around here? Ningcheng's guess was not wrong. The first person to ask was the female cultivator, with heaven's mandate cultivation standing in front of him. Ningqing cupped his fists in a neither arrogant nor humble manner. Yes, I was just trying out my thunder techniques here, which caused a bit of a ruckus. Are you a cultivator with a thunder spiritual root? The female cultivator asked again in surprise. Ningqing hesitated for a moment before replying. No, but I have a thunder-attributed magical technique that I can cultivate through a secret method. The female cultivator nodded, and did not continue to ask. Ningqing already felt polite enough to answer these questions. Under normal circumstances, it was already against the rules for her to ask about other people's spiritual roots and magical techniques. Ningqing was just trying to figure out where this place was when the female cultivator asked again. Are you from the Eternal Night Domain? Eternal Night Domain? Ningqing repeated the words in doubt. But then he reacted and spoke. I'm a starry skies wanderer. After wandering the starry skies for many years, I lost my way and decided to adapt to the situation. Later, I took control of my starry skies battleship and flew for hundreds of years before finally arriving here. Even before meeting the few of you, I had no sense of direction. You actually used a starry skies battleship to fly for hundreds of years and bypass the interface? Which interface did you come from? The female cultivator asked in surprise, apparently shocked by Ningqing's words. She did not doubt Ningqing's words about flying for hundreds of years. To be able to cultivate to Ningqing's level, which one of them had not experienced more than 1,000 years of cultivation. Ningqing smiled and scratched his head before speaking with some helplessness. I don't know. I only know that our planet is called Earth. Did you say Earth? The female cultivator asked again in surprise. This time Ningqing felt shocked. If he said Earth, then it meant that he did not want to continue answering the question. If he said Earth, then no one would know about it. Ningqing did not expect this female cultivator to have such a big reaction. Did she know about Earth? Do you know about Earth? Ningqing quickly asked. He even felt a sense of familiarity. Only those who had experienced the boundless vastness of the universe would understand the insignificance of Earth in the vast universe. The female cultivator shook her head and spoke. I don't know about Earth, but I've heard people talk about this place. Who? Ningqing quickly asked. He felt a sense of joy from meeting an old friend in a foreign land. Was there someone else besides him who had left Earth for cultivation? The female cultivator showed a slight smile and spoke. I can talk to you like this because our cultivations are not too different. At that time, that senior inadvertently mentioned Earth. However, I did not dare to ask about it. Therefore, I do not know who that senior was. Maybe that senior just happened to pass through the Eternal Night Domain. Ningqing took in a deep breath before cupping his fists and asking. 3 Dao friends, what kind of place is the Eternal Night Domain? The female cultivator hesitated for a moment before explaining. The Eternal Night Domain is a void between several interfaces or even positional planes. From this place, one can go to other interfaces or even positional planes. Some of the cultivators who ended up in the Eternal Night Domain escaped, some lost their way like you, and some came here on purpose. Cultivators often leave this place, but cultivators also often come in. Ningqing already understood that this meant that he had not yet arrived at another interface. In other words, he was in the middle of 2 interfaces. Even in this middle zone, one could go to other positional planes. Those who could come to the Eternal Night Domain were obviously not ordinary people. Just like him, if not for the mysterious yellow bead, he would never have reached this place. From the looks of it, it would be best for him not to go to the Eternal Night Domain. Senior apprentice sister, are there many powerhouses in the Eternal Night Domain? Are there any powerhouses in the Eternal Realm? Ningqing did not intend to go to the Eternal Night Domain. It was a dangerous place for him. If he could escape from a powerhouse in the life and death realm, then in front of a powerhouse in the Eternal Realm, his chances would be very slim. The female cultivator nodded. Yes, there are naturally powerhouses in the Eternal Realm. However, such powerhouses generally would not stay here for long, and would try to find a way to leave the Eternal Night Domain. Because this place is the intersection of several positional planes, some of the positional planes' powerhouses are not in the Eternal Realm. However, Their cultivations are definitely not any weaker than the powerhouses in the Eternal Realm. When Ningcheng heard this, he felt even more reluctant to go to the Eternal Night Domain. He thanked her once again. Many thanks, Senior Apprentice Sister. I don't know if Senior Apprentice Sister has a jade strip with directions to the Eternal Night Domain? Or perhaps an introduction jade strip to the Eternal Night Domain? Although he did not want to go to the Eternal Night Domain now, it did not mean that he would not go there in the future. Once his cultivation grew stronger, he would go to the Eternal Night Domain to inquire about how to return to the Grand Culmination Starry Skies. I naturally have a jade strip, but you are only one person. It would still be dangerous for you to go to the Eternal Night Domain alone. My Su clan has been in the Eternal Night Domain for countless years, and has a certain foundation. I can see that this friend has extraordinary courage. Why don't you join my Su clan and help each other out? The female cultivator finished with a smile and stared at Ningcheng. She said that they could help each other out of respect for Ningcheng. In other words, even if you join my Su clan, you would still have someone to rely on. Otherwise, you would find it difficult to even take a single step in the Eternal Night Domain. Ningcheng finally understood why this female cultivator spoke so much to him with such a pleasant expression. It turned out that she had taken a fancy to his bravery in wandering the void for hundreds of years, and wanted to recruit him as a hired thug for the Su clan. Ningcheng did not want to offend these three people, so he quickly cupped his fists and spoke. I'm used to wandering the starry skies and do not intend to go to the Eternal Night Domain for the time being. Many thanks, Senior Apprentice Sister. The female cultivator stared at Ningcheng for a while before sighing. Taking out 2 jade strips, she threw them to Ningcheng and spoke. In that case, I will not force you. If one day you get tired of wandering in this place, you can come to my Su clan. This female cultivator did not say how to find the Su clan, only that he could go to the Su clan. Ningcheng guessed that the status of the Su clan should not be small, at least in the Eternal Night Domain. As long as he mentioned the name of the Su clan, he would be able to find it. Ningcheng took the 2 jade strips and once again cupped his fists. Many thanks, Senior Apprentice Sister. Many thanks, several friends. This Ning will take his leave. With that, Ningcheng's figure flashed slightly before turning into a shadow and disappearing into the distance. Another woman behind this female cultivator gave a snort and spoke. This person must have some secrets on him, so he does not dare to go to the Eternal Night Domain. The man in the heaven-seated realm spoke up in a calm voice. Being able to come here, how many of them do not have secrets? Chapter 652. A few days later, Ningcheng found a broken starland. This starland was different from the meteorites that flew through the void, as it moved slowly through the void. Using this place as a place for secluded cultivation, it was much better than the meteorites. If one was not careful, the meteorites would collide with other meteorites and break apart. However, this broken starland, although it did not have any celestial essence or spiritual chi, it was relatively safe, because of its huge surface area. Even if an ordinary meteorite hit it, it would not cause much damage. In the temporary cave he dug out, Ningcheng took out the jade strip about the Eternal Night Domain that the female cultivator had given him. The Eternal Night Domain was somewhat similar to the rootless Black City, where he once lived. It's just that the Eternal Night Domain was countless times larger than the rootless Black City, and much more stable. It was a relatively complete continent with relatively complete laws, no different from an ordinary planet. If one had to point out a difference, it would be that the Eternal Night Domain did not have any sunlight. The Eternal Night Domain was just a lone starland suspended in the crevice of the void, without any luminous planets to provide sunlight for the Eternal Night Domain. Because of this, the Eternal Night Domain got its name. Therefore, the Eternal Night Domain was filled with clear light stones and clear light array formations. Although there was no sunlight, it was not the same as the Eternal Night Domain. One could even say that there was no night here. The Eternal Night Domain had existed for hundreds of millions of years, and countless cultivators had fallen here. Some of the cultivators had reproduced here, and even formed a certain clan. Ningcheng guessed that the Su clan should be such a clan. Because this place was a bit special, many powerhouses had fallen in the Eternal Night Domain over the years. Because the Eternal Night domain was located in the crevice of several positional planes, these powerhouses had different realms, but all of them ruled over a region. The difference in realms was only due to the subtle differences in the laws of heaven and earth in each positional plane. It was just a difference in terms of naming. In fact, all paths lead to the same destination. Cultivating to the extreme, one still had to pursue the same goal. However, there were many cultivation resources around the Eternal Night domain, and some people had even found a perpetual moon pill mountain. It was a pill mountain made up of perpetual moon pills. After countless years of celestial essence chi condensation, the perpetual moon pills on the mountain seemed endless. Ningqing shook his head and put away the jade strip. He really wanted to go to the Eternal Night domain. After all, cultivating in the Eternal Night domain was much better than this place. Moreover, he could also do some business in the Eternal Night domain, selling some medicinal pills and weapons in exchange for the perpetual moon pills he needed for cultivation. However, Ningqing dispelled the idea. Before advancing to the heaven-seated realm, he didn't want to go to the Eternal Night domain, unless it was a last resort. Since the last time when the mysterious yellow bead was exposed, he had become even more cautious in his heart. Perhaps in the starry sky cities of Grand Culmination Starry Skies, there were still certain rules to follow. However, in the Eternal Night domain, which was located in the crack between the positional planes, even if someone forcibly grabbed him and searched his body, he would not be able to do anything about it. Not entering the mysterious yellow bead to cultivate, Ningqing's speed immediately slowed down a lot. Fortunately, he had a lot of perpetual moon pills and other medicinal pills, as well as the mysterious yellow aura to cleanse his meridians. Even though his speed was much slower than before, it was still far superior compared to the average cultivator. As the number of perpetual moon pills around Ningqing continued to decrease, his cultivation also continued to rise. The radial immortal star was a remote planet in the Grand Culmination Starry Skies Night Essence Celestial River. Generally, cultivators with some background would rarely come to this place. Moreover, the Pendant City was a city on the edge of the radial immortal star. Ji Luofei had been hiding with Shi Qianghua in the Pendant City, a city on the edge of this remote planet for 5 years. During these 5 years, Ji Luofei had used up all the cultivation resources that Ningqing had left for her and Shi Qianghua. Moreover, with the help of the harmonizing celestial pills, she managed to advance to the celestial bridge realm. One could even say that within the entire Night Essence Celestial River, no cultivator had the same rich cultivation conditions as Ji Luofei. She had access to piles of perpetual moon pills, and all kinds of advancement medicinal pills for cultivation. Moreover, when she reached the great circle of Celestial Gatherer realm, she even had access to a large number of harmonizing celestial pills. Coupled with Ji Luofei's qualifications, which far exceeded the average cultivator, she finally advanced from the Celestial Novice realm to the Celestial Bridge realm in 5 years. However, she had almost used up all the perpetual moon pills and some other medicinal pills. If she wanted to go further, she would have to go out and look for more cultivation resources. Senior Apprentice Sister Qianghua, I'm leaving this place. Ji Luofei whispered before sending the unconscious Shi Qianghua into the miniature world. Since Shi Qianghua never woke up, Ji Luofei sealed Shi Qianghua with a restriction, and kept Shi Qianghua by her side. She had exchanged 10 harmonizing celestial pills, and a bunch of perpetual moon pills for this miniature world. Nevertheless, this miniature world was still a low-level miniature world. If not for elder sister Qianghua, she would never have used so many resources in exchange for a low-level miniature world. When she and Ningqing broke up, she had told Ningqing to take good care of elder sister Qianghua. Seeing Qianghua in such a state, she felt anxious and terrified. She felt sorry for Ningqing and failed to fulfill her promise. Now the only thing she could do was to improve her cultivation. Ji Luofei walked into the Pendant City's trade union. She initially planned to leave the radial immortal star and explore other places. But before leaving, she changed her mind and deliberately came to the Pendant City's trade union. She had already gotten used to living in the Pendant City and could not adapt to suddenly changing places. If she could find cultivation resources in the Pendant City, she intended to stay here for a while. It would be best if she could cultivate to the Heaven's Mandate realm here. Senior. As soon as Ji Luofei came in, many cultivators bowed and made way for her. In other places, a puny celestial bridge cultivator would not even enter the eyes of others. But in the Pendant City, celestial bridge cultivators were supreme existences. Ji Luofei nodded, and was just about to look at the big screen to see if there was a better mystic realm, or a place with rich cultivation resources, when she heard someone talking next to her. The ice immortal ridge suddenly cracked open. I heard that even heaven-seated cultivators came over. Ji Luofei felt surprised. She had lived on the radial immortal star for many years, and was naturally no stranger to the ice immortal ridge. Although the ice immortal ridge was called a ridge, it was sealed off by ice and snow all year round. Even a top-grade powerhouse could not open this seal. Forcibly opening it would only cause the radial immortal star to shatter. The radial immortal star was a planet under the grand culmination starry sky, home to tens of billions of people. No cultivator had the courage to forcibly blast open the radial immortal star. Besides, ordinary cultivators could not blast open the radial immortal star. No one knew for how many years the ice immortal ridge had been sealed off. However, Ji Luofei knew that the ice immortal ridge had once cracked open 100,000 years ago. At that time, countless cultivators had entered to look for opportunities. However, the ice immortal ridge quickly closed again, and none of the cultivators who entered came out. Among them, there were even heaven-seated powerhouses. This time, when the ice immortal ridge cracked open again, she suddenly felt the urge to go and take a look. Ji Luofei knew that although she had good qualifications, without the cultivation resources Ning Cheng gave her, she could never advance from the Celestial Novice Realm to the Celestial Bridge Realm in 5 years. She wanted to cultivate to the Heaven-seated realm as soon as possible to find Ning Cheng, or at least to help Ning Cheng. Therefore, she had to take some risks. This starry sky was indeed vast and boundless, and there were countless cultivators in this starry sky. With so many cultivators looking for cultivation resources, if she did not want to take risks, where could she find good things for cultivation? If she followed Ning Cheng could take care of these things. But now that she was not by Ning Cheng's side, she could only do these things by herself. If Ning Cheng could risk his life to find cultivation resources, then she, Ji Luofei, could do the same. Thinking of this, Ji Luofei made up her mind. Whether she lived or died, she had to take the risk and go to the ice immortal ridge. Ji Luofei looked up at the big screen as if nothing had happened. Sure enough, the first thing she saw on the big screen was the ice immortal ridge cracking open. Then many cultivators started looking for teams with the purpose of going to the ice immortal ridge together. Ji Luofei did not plan to form a team with others. She stayed in the guild for a while before turning around and quickly leaving. After half an incense stick worth of time, Ji Luofei finally left the Pendant City. She brought out a flight-type weapon and flew directly towards the ice immortal ridge. Bang! Another huge meteorite came crashing down. Ning Cheng stood on the broken star where he had gone into seclusion for 5 years and punched out. The violent celestial essence condensed into a powerful fist momentum. Ning Cheng's fist momentum blocked the approaching meteorite and immediately slowed it down. Then Ning Cheng's fist intent dispersed, and the meteorite exploded with a bang before disintegrating into pieces. Ning Cheng retracted his fist and sighed. During the 5 years of seclusion, he had already used up all the medicinal pills he could use. Even the 10 million perpetual moon pills were not left. Moreover, his cultivation had only reached the late-stage Heaven's Mandate realm. There was still a long way to go before he reached the full circle of Heaven's Mandate realm. Although his strength had grown a lot stronger than before, he understood that he would not be qualified to speak before reaching the heaven-seated realm. Without cultivation resources, even if he wanted to go into seclusion, it would not be feasible. He did not want to go to the Eternal Night Domain before advancing to the heaven-seated realm. But at this time, he had to go to the Eternal Night Domain. For Ning Cheng, not being able to advance in his cultivation was the most critical thing. As long as his cultivation could continue to advance, he could continue to cultivate in seclusion. In any case, he could not let his cultivation stagnate. Taking out the locational jade strip given to him by the female cultivator, Ningqing quickly found the location of the Eternal Night Domain. Chapter 653. 3 months later, Ningqing stood outside the Eternal Night Domain. According to his speculations, the Eternal Night Domain was just like the rootless Black City, a city suspended in the void. But after arriving at this place, Ningqing realized that his idea was a big mistake. Was this just a city? This was basically a star continent. Even outside the Eternal Night Domain, Ningqing could feel the majestic and imposing aura. Looking at it from afar, one could see that the Eternal Night Domain's defensive array was filled with lights. Ningqing was a bit absent-minded. He seemed to be able to see the night view of Jiangzhou, which was also filled with lights. However, this place was billions of miles away from Jiang Prefecture. When he thought of Jiangzhou, he thought of Ruolin. He wondered if his younger sister, Ruolin, who had come out with him, was doing well. Ningqing quickly calmed down his mood. In the vast universe, if he wanted to do what he wanted to do, he first needed to have enough strength to keep up. But now, his strength was too weak. Outside the Eternal Night Domain was an empty public square. In Ningqing's view, this public square was even bigger than the public square outside Culmination Starland. This public square was directly connected to the Eternal Night Domain. Ningqing carefully landed on the public square. Just as he landed, a white light emerged from under his feet. Ningqing was startled, and was just about to escape, when two figures flew over. "Is this your first time in the Eternal Night Domain?" The cultivator who came over stared at Ningqing and asked. Ningqing had already reacted at this time. The white light from a moment ago should have been caused by the control array on the public square. The cultivators who came here before definitely had some kind of array control jade card, or something like that. He didn't have a jade card on him, so the array control on the square was glowing white. As Ningqing's spiritual consciousness penetrated into the public square, he was able to see an array pattern. It looks like his guess was not wrong. At this moment, a dozen spiritual consciousnesses swept over and fell on Ningqing's body. Some powerful divine consciousnesses definitely surpassed the sky-seated realm. Ningqing took in a deep breath before cupping his fists and speaking. "It's not my first time coming to the Eternal Night Domain. I'm from the Su clan. Previously, when I was out searching for cultivation resources, I lost one of the rings because of a dangerous situation. If the ring was lost, there would definitely be nothing left. As for the array plate, there would definitely be nothing left." Hearing that it was not Ningqing's first time in the Eternal Night Domain, and that he was also a member of the Su clan, the two cultivators immediately lost interest. One of them spoke to Ningqing. "Such being the case, then you can go and get a replacement array card." Saying that, the two of them simply did not bother to continue to pay attention to Ningqing, and quickly left. Even the spiritual consciousness that had swept towards Ningqing also moved away. Apparently, Ningqing was not the only one who had lost his array card. Ningqing breathed in a sigh of relief. From the looks of it, the Su clan had a certain status in the Eternal Night Domain. The jade strip that the female cultivator from the Su clan had given him did not mention anything about the jade card required for the first time in the Eternal Night Domain. He didn't know if she had purposely erased it or if she hadn't thought about it. Ningqing walked into the hall at the edge of the public square, and easily saw a huge sign, "Eternal Night Domain Array Controlling Jade Card." Before going to apply for the jade card, Ningqing deliberately observed the surroundings. He found that this place was not so much a hall for applying for jade cards, but rather a rest stop. Some cultivators were drinking spirit tea or spirit wine while chatting. There were also some cultivators conducting transactions. However, Ningqing found that no one here used the celestial coins commonly used in the 4 grand starry skies. Most of the cultivators here used starry sky crystals, while a few cultivators used perpetual moon pills. "Hey, why are you here?" Just as Ningqing was about to go and apply for the Eternal Night Domain Array Formation Jade card, a surprised voice called out to Ningqing. Ningqing turned around and immediately recognized the female cultivator. She was one of the 3 people he had met before. Ningqing greets this senior apprentice sister. Ningqing had just said that he was from the Su clan. Now that a person from the Su clan had arrived, he quickly greeted her. "So you're called Ningqing. Did you come here to congratulate our little miss on her wedding?" This female cultivator did not treat herself as an outsider. Since Ningcheng came here, she immediately thought that Ningcheng had come here to congratulate the Su clan's little miss on her wedding. When Ningcheng had just arrived here, many spiritual consciousnesses had already locked onto him, which made him feel even more threatened by the eternal night domain. Now that this female cultivator said that their little miss was going to get married, Ningcheng immediately followed up with her words. Yeah, I heard about it from outside and immediately rushed back. I hope I can make it in time. Ningcheng felt lucky in his heart. This matter was just too coincidental. He had just arrived in the eternal night domain, and the Su clan's little miss was about to get married. Naturally, I can make it in time. I'm here to pick up someone. You can go first, I'll wait for a while. This female cultivator, on hearing that Ningcheng came here to deliver a gift, her tone immediately turned tactful. Ningcheng took advantage of the situation and spoke up. I just came back and don't have an invitation. I don't know senior apprentice sister's name. The female cultivator giggled, took out an invitation and handed it to Ningcheng. My name is Ji Min. It's just an invitation. You can go first, I still have to pick up someone. Ningcheng's spiritual consciousness swept through the invitation and found out that the female cultivator who had given him the jade strip was called Su Baijiao, while the man who was going to marry Su Baijiao was called Duan Gantai. Many thanks, senior apprentice sister Ji Min. It's just that I've just returned to the eternal night domain and don't have the array controlling jade card. Ningcheng did have some celestial essence crystals on him, but when he looked at his celestial essence crystals, they did not seem to be very pure. As for perpetual moon pills, he did not even have a single one on him. Since he would have to send a gift later, he might as well ask this Ji Min for a favor. It's just a small matter, you don't have to buy it. I have some extra here. While speaking, Ji Min took out a jade card and stuffed it into Ningcheng's hands. This jade card is anonymous. Just remember to take out the jade card when you return to the eternal night domain. Although Ningcheng was also a guest, in Ji Min's eyes, Ningcheng was obviously not an important guest. After stuffing the jade card into Ningcheng's hands, she hurriedly left. Ningcheng hung the jade card around his waist and walked out of the public square again. The white light under his feet had already disappeared. He breathed a sigh of relief. In any case, he had finally passed the first hurdle of entering the eternal night domain. In the future, he would also be a person from the eternal night domain. As such, no one would dare to casually inquire about him. Entering the eternal night domain along the spacious void public square, Ningcheng realized that he had forgotten to ask Ji Min about the location of Su clan. The eternal night domain was not a city. It was a place similar to a starland. There were cities, corner fortresses, and even some sects and forces. Ningcheng stopped a cultivator in the celestial bridge realm and took out an Alioth pill. Friend, I lost the jade strip for the eternal night domain. Do you have it? Give it to me. The cultivator, on seeing the grade 4 celestial river pill, the Alioth pill, did not hesitate at all. He took out a jade strip and stuffed it into Ningcheng's hands before grabbing Ningcheng's medicinal pill and turning around to leave. Exchanging a Alioth pill for an ordinary jade strip for the eternal night domain, if this wasn't stupid, then what was? However, the cultivator did not go far before he sobered up. Even if the eternal night domain's jade strip was lost, wouldn't it not be enough to exchange it with a medicinal pill? There were simply too many places in the eternal night domain where one could purchase such jade strips. At this moment he finally reacted. That cultivator must have come to the eternal night domain for the first time. Generally, cultivators who came to the eternal night domain for the first time, as long as they did not have high cultivation, were all fat sheep. Ningcheng's spiritual consciousness swept through the jade strip and found that the Su clan resided in the eternal night city, the largest city in the eternal night domain. According to the map on the jade strip, the eternal night city was undoubtedly the largest city in the eternal night domain, and it was the closest to the eternal night public square. Following the directions on the jade strip, Ningcheng arrived outside the eternal night city in just the time it took for an incense stick to burn. The eternal night city did not have any city walls, only layers upon layers of defensive arrays. After entering the eternal night city, under the illumination of the bright light array formation, One could clearly see many festive signboards on both sides of the street, all of them celebrating the wedding of the Su clan Su Baijiao. Ningcheng understood that the Su clan had a significant status in the Eternal Night City, and even in the Eternal Night Domain. There were not many people on the street, but Ningcheng's spiritual consciousness casually swept out and found several heaven-seated powerhouses. He quickly retracted his spiritual consciousness and did not dare to casually sweep out. Walking along the Eternal Night Street for just a few kilometers, a luxurious and imposing gateway appeared in front of Ningcheng. The words Eternal Night Su Clan were written on the gateway, indicating the status and momentum of the Su clan in the Eternal Night Domain. At the entrance of the Su clan, there was a festive atmosphere, with 4 cultivators in the Heaven's Mandate realm standing on either side to welcome guests. Of these 4 cultivators, any one of them had cultivation no worse than Ningcheng. Ningcheng took out the invitation and stepped forward. "I'm here to attend Senior Apprentice Sister Baijiao's wedding. Honorable guest, please come in." The 4 cultivators in the Heaven's Mandate realm bowed to Ningcheng at the same time, and then pointed towards the door. Ningcheng could not bring out the gifts he had prepared, as the 4 cultivators in charge of welcoming guests had no intention of accepting the gifts. Ningcheng had to give up the idea of giving gifts and followed them through the gate. As soon as he entered the gate, a female attendant came over and bowed to lead the way. At this time, another cultivator came over with an invitation. The 4 people also bowed and invited him through the gate. Similarly, a female cultivator came over to lead the way for this cultivator. Ningcheng noticed that this cultivator also did not bring any gifts. This cultivator had a heaven-seated cultivation, so Ningcheng deliberately stopped and let this heaven-seated cultivator walk in front of him. When Ningcheng stopped, the female cultivator leading the way also stopped. This heaven-seated cultivator did not know that Ningcheng wanted to follow behind him and see what he did. Thinking that Ningcheng was a junior showing respect to an elder, he nodded towards Ningcheng. However, to Ningcheng's disappointment, the female cultivator in front of him did not follow the heaven-seated cultivator. Instead, after walking for a while, she turned around and walked towards the other side. She quickly brought Ningcheng through an arched door, before arriving at a huge hall. Rather than saying it was a hall, it would be more accurate to call it a hall. This hall looked even more luxurious. Ningcheng's gaze swept around and found that nearly 100 people were already sitting in the hall. Seeing that there was no cultivator above the heaven-seated realm here, Ningcheng realized that although they were all guests, there were still differences. Sky realm guests obviously wouldn't sit with them. Chapter 654. The female cultivator who led the way led Ningcheng to a seat and immediately retreated. Someone then automatically served him spiritual tea. The celestial wheels behind Ningcheng weren't very clear, and his imposing aura didn't look very strong. In the eyes of others, he was at most an undead cultivator. Facing such an ordinary cultivator, the people inside just glanced at him before looking away. No one would care about someone like Ningcheng. Ningcheng also didn't have any intention to talk to anyone. Those who could come here to attend Su Baijiao's wedding obviously had some background. With his current status, he couldn't make friends with these people. He quietly sipped his spirit tea while listening to these cultivators talk loudly. Through the conversations of these cultivators, Ningcheng also learned some things about the Eternal Night Domain. He also learned that in the void around the Eternal Night Domain, if one was lucky, not only could one find the Perpetual Moon Pill Mountain and Pill Pond, but even the Permanent Essence Pill Pond. Although Ningcheng had never seen permanent essence pills, he knew that permanent essence pills were a higher-grade cultivation resource compared to Perpetual Moon pills. It wasn't artificially refined, but condensed from starry sky essence chi over countless years in a specific environment. No impurities, no side effects, only pure cultivation essence chi. This friend, I just heard them say that Senior Ji Zhen obtained a permanent essence pill mountain. If others knew about it, wouldn't they covet it? Ningcheng whispered to a cultivator in Heaven's Mandate realm beside him. The cultivator glanced at Ningcheng and spoke with disdain. Covet? After Senior Ji Zhen obtained the permanent essence pill mountain, he not only advanced to the eternal realm, but also surpassed the eternal realm. With such power, who would dare covet it? With Senior Ji Zhen's cultivation, he naturally left the crevice of the Eternal Night domain. Ningqing didn't care about the other party's tone and still politely asked, "You said that Senior Ji Zhen obtained a permanent essence pill and could surpass the Eternal Realm? Isn't permanent essence pill a cultivation medicinal pill? I heard that to surpass the Eternal Realm, one must achieve it through Tao-confirming means. What do you know? With a permanent essence pill mountain, one can naturally reach Tao-confirming." The cultivator felt dissatisfied with Ningqing's rebuttal. Ningqing didn't care about it. But a cultivator with narrow eyes sitting a little further away from Ningqing suddenly spoke up. "Don't talk nonsense if you don't know anything. The friend who just asked is right. Permanent essence pills were just medicinal pills for cultivation. No matter how many there were, it couldn't prove one's Tao." Senior Ji Zhen succeeded in reaching the Tao-confirming realm because he found an opportunity to reach the Tao-confirming realm on the permanent essence pill mountain. Permanent essence pills can't compare to it. I don't know when we'll have such a great opportunity. Another cultivator sighed. Ningqing didn't continue to interrupt. He didn't expect that the Eternal Night domain would have so many pill mountains within the void. From the looks of it, this place was suitable for condensing a pill mountain. In the future, if he could not earn perpetual moon pills in the Eternal Night domain, maybe he could go out and look for it. However, before going out, he had to investigate the situation in the void around the Eternal Night domain. With his starry sky wheel, he could definitely go to places that no one had ever gone before. At this moment, a pretty female cultivator walked into the main hall and stood on the main platform before bowing and speaking. "In order to thank all the guests for coming to my Su clan as guests, the little miss and her son-in-law will come and toast to all the distinguished guests." The cultivators in the hall immediately stood up and applauded, while Ningqing also stood up and applauded behind them. Although Ningqing's spiritual consciousness was extremely powerful, he could still hear people whispering behind him. That Duan Gantai is really lucky to be able to marry into the Su clan. Don't talk nonsense. Prepare your gifts. It's impolite to talk about the bridegroom here. Someone immediately interrupted the person's discussion. Hearing this, Ningqing understood that this Duan Gantai was a son-in-law. Moreover, it wasn't that he didn't want to give gifts at the wedding, but that he wanted to give them all at the same time. Ningqing thought about it for a moment and understood what was going on. In this place, everyone wanted to give gifts together. Whoever gave less would not only lose face, but would also be looked down upon by others. This Su clan really wasn't reserved at all. In China, people paid particular attention to being reserved, and even gift-giving was a very reserved thing. However, in the Eternal Night domain, gift-giving directly became a matter of sincerity. Ningqing couldn't help but wonder if he could bring out the bottle of medicinal pills he had originally prepared. A moment later, two boys walked into the main hall, holding hands with a man and a woman, and came to the main platform. The woman wore a red shawl and a phoenix coronet on her head, which looked similar to ancient Chinese women getting married. Golden ribbons hung down from the front of the phoenix coronet, which completely covered her face. Ningqing recognized her at a glance. This female cultivator was the woman he had met before, who had given him 2 jade strips. When Ningqing saw the bridegroom next to Su Baijiao, he suddenly felt a chill in his heart. This bridegroom looked just too ugly. His nostrils almost reached the sky, and his pair of thick lips protruded out, as if he was afraid that others wouldn't notice. Although his eyes were big, they were round and had no edges at all. Thinking of Su Baijiao's charming appearance, Ningqing couldn't help but laugh in his heart. Even this woman could endure it. Ningqing didn't know what advantages this Duan Gantai had, that even Su Baijiao of the Su clan had to marry him. As for why Duan Gantai didn't undergo plastic surgery, Ningqing didn't find it surprising. Cultivators and ordinary people were different. Cultivators cultivated their hearts to defy the heavens. As the saying goes, one's appearance comes from one's heart. Although one's appearance might change after cultivation, this change would never be too big. One could indeed become more handsome after plastic surgery, but as long as one continued to cultivate, one's appearance would return to normal, even more obvious than before. Female cultivators mostly had feminine bodies, which meant that they would have a more subtle effect on their appearance compared to male cultivators. There were even some cultivation methods that made female cultivators more beautiful the more they cultivated. Therefore, among the cultivators in the starry skies, female cultivators were much more beautiful. Moreover, this kind of beauty was truly beautiful and could be passed on to future generations, unlike the beauties of some countries. Although one might look like a decent person, everything would become clear after giving birth to offspring. While Ningqing observed Su Baijiao and Duan Gantai, Su Baijiao's spiritual consciousness fell on Ningqing at the same time. Ningqing quickly retracted his spiritual consciousness and cupped his fists towards Su Baijiao. He knew that Su Baijiao had recognized him. Sure enough, Su Baijiao gave Ningqing a slight nod, seemingly a little surprised. At the same time, Ningqing felt an incomparably sharp killing intent sweeping towards him. It was Duan Gantai. This fellow had a strong sensitivity. Ningqing and Su Baijiao had only exchanged a slight greeting, yet this fellow had already sensed it. No wonder the Su clan wanted to recruit this Duan Gantai. This fellow truly wasn't simple. However, Ningqing didn't care about it. Duan Gantai was only at the full circle of heaven's mandate realm, so he didn't fear him at all. Meng Yangzi saw Fairy Baijiao 3 years ago and was shocked by her beauty. Today is a joyous occasion, and Fairy Baijiao is even more stunning. Meng Yangzi wishes to congratulate Fairy Baijiao on her wedding, so I present a small gift to express my congratulations. A handsome man in white robe stood up, instantly diverting Duan Gantai's killing intent towards Ningqing. To be precise, it was after the white-robed man said that Su Baijiao was beautiful that Duan Gantai's killing intent fell on this Meng Yangzi. Ningqing felt a little speechless. This Duan Gantai was just too sensitive. Meng Yangzi had only praised Su Baijiao's beauty a few times, yet this guy was already filled with killing intent. If someone said a word to Su Baijiao, or did something a little too excessive, then wouldn't this guy immediately explode? How would he live with Su Baijiao in the future? Meng Yangzi was the first to send out a gift, and a female cultivator standing behind Su Baijiao immediately came forward with a white jade plate. Ningqing's spiritual consciousness swept out, and saw Meng Yangzi put a ring on the jade plate, along with a list of gifts. The list read, a middle-grade defensive Dao artifact jade hairpin, 100,000 high-grade immortal crystals, 5,000 perpetual moon pills. The ring did not have any restrictions, so Ningqing's spiritual consciousness seeped into the ring and immediately saw the high-grade immortal crystals. In fact, it looked the same as the starry sky crystals in his ring, but much purer than his starry sky crystals. But this was also normal, as the starry sky crystals in his ring were only low-grade. At this time, Ningqing also understood that high-grade immortal crystals were just another name for starry sky crystals, which meant that they came from a different positional plane. After the female cultivator received Meng Yangzi's gift, she immediately shouted, Eternal Night Domain's Refining Heart Mountain disciple Meng Yangzi presents a middle-grade Dao artifact jade hairpin, 100,000 high-grade immortal crystals, 5,000 perpetual moon pills. Even in Ningqing's opinion, this gift list was not light. Unexpectedly, Duan Gantai gave a cold snort and spoke with a muffled voice. Today is my and Baijiao's wedding day. What do you mean by sending medicinal pills? Ningqing, like the rest of the cultivators, felt stunned. Perpetual moon pills were cultivation resources. Strictly speaking, they were not medicinal pills at all. Besides, even if they were medicinal pills, Duan Gantai, a son-in-law who married into the family, didn't have any subtlety in saying such words on the spot. Others naturally had good intentions in sending gifts, but this fellow treated others' good intentions as malicious intent. Meng Yangzi's expression suddenly turned ugly. He had considered giving away perpetual moon pills for a long time. This medicinal pill also had a lot of use to him. Now that he gave it as a gift, not only did others not appreciate it, but they even found fault with him. It was just too much. At this moment, Su Baijiao suddenly spoke up. Husband, senior apprentice brother Meng gave perpetual moon pills out of goodwill. Besides, perpetual moon pills are not medicinal pills, so it's not inauspicious. Duan Gantai gave a snort, and did not continue to find fault with her. Su Baijiao did not seem to care about Duan Gantai's cold snort. Instead, she nodded to the female cultivator who received the gift. The female cultivator who received the gift saw it and continued to read aloud. Meng Yang's generous gift. Please enter the inner residence and take a seat of honor. Meng Yang's complexion turned a little better. He stood up and cupped his fists towards the rest of the people before following the female cultivator, who led the way out of the hall. Ningcheng understood that only those who gave generous gifts could enter the inner residence as guests. Otherwise, they could only sit here for a while before leaving. It was simply too straightforward. It was just that the person who gave the most gifts would enter the inner residence. Chapter 655. With Meng Yangzi taking the lead, the cultivators behind him quickly took out their gifts. Most of them sent immortal crystals, high-grade starry sky spiritual grasses, various Tao artifacts, starry sky battleships and the like. However, no one sent any more perpetual moon pills, which made Ningqing feel a bit amused. This Duan Gantai really was a piece of work, cursing back the best gifts. What was the most important thing for a cultivator? Naturally, it was cultivation resources. Perpetual moon pills were a much better cultivation resource for Heaven's Mandate cultivators, compared to high-grade immortal crystals. Ningqing knew that he had to change his gift. Previously, he had prepared a bottle of grade 4 Celestial River medicinal pills, harmonizing celestial pills. With Meng Yang's example, if he sent medicinal pills, and not even perpetual moon pills, wouldn't he just be asking for trouble? Sure enough, as Ningqing guessed, whoever sent more gifts, the female cultivator receiving the gifts would invite them to sit in the inner residence. This was a matter of face. Many of the cultivators here knew each other. If the people around them were invited to the inner residence, then they could only sit outside. It would be a huge loss of face. However, despite this, not many cultivators entered the inner residence. Not everyone was as rich as Meng Yangzi. Most of the cultivators didn't want to lose face, but they couldn't come up with so many things. Ningqing didn't care about it. He didn't know anyone here. The only reason he came here to send gifts was because of Ji Min's help. He couldn't tell Ji Min that he came here to attend Su Baijiao's wedding, and then disappear after entering the Eternal Night Domain. Ningcheng had already prepared his gift, which was a mid-grade Celestial River-class battleship. It was also his spoils of war, which made it suitable as a gift. After sending the gifts, he would leave. As for staying here as a guest in the inner residence, he had no interest in it. At this moment, the female cultivator's voice almost made Ningcheng jump up. Ningcheng thought that he had heard it wrong, and quickly listened carefully. Sure enough, he heard the same words as the second time. Eternal Night Domain's Weapon Pavilion's Gongyeju sends 10 drops of purple Yin spring water. Please enter the inner residence. Ningcheng had been searching for the purple Yin spirit spring, but many people had never even heard of it. But today, he heard the words purple Yin spring water. He wondered if this purple Yin spring water was the purple Yin spirit spring. But no matter what, Ningcheng would not let go of the opportunity to get to know this Gongyeju. Ningcheng couldn't understand why only a few people in Grand Culmination Starry Skies knew about the purple Yin spring water, but even a female attendant here knew that it was a good thing. Gongyeju had already followed the female attendant into the inner residence, and at this time, there weren't many cultivators who hadn't sent gifts. Ningcheng saw the female cultivator in charge of receiving the gifts arrive in front of him, and quickly took out a ring and placed it on the white jade tray, while simultaneously engraving a list of gifts onto it. When the female cultivator who received the gifts saw Ningcheng's list of gifts, her eyes immediately lit up and she immediately sang out in a loud voice. Eternal Night Domain's Ningcheng sends a Starry Sky Grade 9 Firewind Crow's Tail Feather, a middle-grade defensive Tao artifact, a middle-grade Celestial River-class battleship. At this moment, almost all eyes swept towards Ningcheng. A rogue cultivator with an unremarkable cultivation had unexpectedly sent out so many good things. Not to mention anything else, just the tail feathers of a Starry Sky Grade 9 demonic beast, Flame Wind Crow, were worth a lot of money, which far exceeded the gift list of almost all cultivators. Even Su Baijiao's gaze fell on Ningcheng, feeling amazed by Ningcheng's generosity and wealth. She even decided to talk to Ningcheng later, and convince him to stay in the Su clan. Ningcheng was indeed a cultivator in the Celestial River realm, but this cultivator not only had great potential, but also could take out so many good things at will, indicating that his net worth was countless times richer than the things he brought out. The only one with a hostile gaze was Duan Gantai. He had seen Ning Cheng greet Su Baijiao before, and now Ning Cheng sent out such a generous gift, which made him feel extremely uncomfortable. However, Ning Cheng's gift did not contain any medicinal pills, which meant that he couldn't find an excuse. Honorable guest Ning Cheng, please take a seat in the inner residence. After the female cultivator in charge of receiving the gifts said those words, Ning Cheng finally felt relieved. The reason why he sent out a middle-grade Dao artifact and a Celestial River-class battleship was because he feared that Duan Gantai would say that the Flame Wind Crow's tail feather was not enough. For the sake of the Purple Een Spirit Spring, why would he care about a middle-grade Dao artifact and an ordinary Celestial River-class battleship? Middle-grade Dao artifacts might be precious to others, but for him, it was something that he could easily refine. He already had 20 or 30 Starry Sky Grade 9 Flame Wind Crow's tail feathers in his ring. Ning Cheng followed the female cultivator into the inner residence and came to a wooden hall. Although this hall did not look as luxurious as the one outside, Ning Cheng could feel the difference as soon as he entered. This was because the house exuded a strong vitality. Ning Cheng felt sure that the wood used to build this house was not simple and definitely a good material. For the Su clan to use this kind of wood to build a house, it showed that they were rich and overbearing. There were dozens of cultivators sitting inside the house. Ning Cheng casually glanced around and saw several heaven-seated powerhouses. Not seeing any life and death or eternal powerhouses, Ning Cheng finally felt a little relieved. He naturally didn't think that the Su clan did not have any guests in the life and death or eternal realm. If these powerhouses were not accompanied by someone, then these powerhouses must have sent people to deliver gifts. The female cultivator led Ning Cheng to a seat, but Ning Cheng did not sit down according to her instructions. Instead, he nodded to her and took the initiative to walk over to Gong Yejua's side and sit down. The female cultivator, on seeing Ning Cheng find a seat, did not say anything and just offered him some spiritual tea before taking the initiative to withdraw. The guests sitting inside should be considered as distinguished guests of the Su clan. Except for 7 or 8 cultivators in the heaven-seated realm, and some very important cultivators, the rest were like Ning Cheng, cultivators with relatively heavy gifts. The cultivators in the heaven-seated realm naturally sat at the head of the table and chatted with each other. As for Ning Cheng and the other cultivators who had not reached the heaven-seated realm, even if they wanted to speak, they had to speak in a low voice. Gong Yejua, on seeing Ning Cheng deliberately walk over and sit down next to him, nodded to Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng cupped his fists towards Gong Yejua with a smile. Rogue cultivator Ning Cheng greets brother Gong Ye. Ning Cheng's politeness quickly aroused Gong Yejua's goodwill, and he also returned the courtesy. I don't dare. It is Gong Yejua's honor to meet brother Ning. Ning Cheng, of course, knew that Gong Yejua spoke out of politeness, but he didn't care about it. Instead, he asked in a low voice, Brother Gong Ye, I just saw you take out the Purple Een spring water. What is that? Why do others know about it, but I've never seen it before? Gong Yejua, on seeing Ning Cheng's sincere attitude, also spoke up. Brother Ning might have been training outside and only recently returned to the Eternal Night Domain. 100 years ago, 2 powerful Dao-confirming cultivators fought their way to the outside of the Eternal Night Domain. These 2 people were a man and a woman, with amazing cultivation. I'm afraid that even an eternal-level Starry Sky Emperor would not be able to stand up to such powerhouses. At that time, outside the Eternal Night Domain, the female cultivator asked the man to hand over the Purple Een Spirit Spring bead. However, the man refused. As a result, the 2 of them ended up fighting outside the Eternal Night Domain. At this point, Gong Yejua's tone turned even lower. Did you know? It turns out that there are 2 broken planets outside the Eternal Night Domain. These 2 planets are the 2 array entrances of the Eternal Night Domain. In the middle of these 2 planets, there is also a beautiful spiritual spring pool. This Starry Sky spiritual spring pool is not used for cultivation, but to set off the imposing aura and spirituality of the Eternal Night Domain. Later, when the 2 powerhouses fought, even if they were far away from the Eternal Night Domain, the aftermath of the celestial essence still turned the 2 broken planets into nothingness. Otherwise, the Eternal Night Domain would have looked much more imposing than it does now. Fortunately, the two cultivators knew that there were many cultivators in the Eternal Night Domain. Therefore, after destroying the array entrances of the two planets of the Eternal Night Domain, they quickly moved away. When Ningqing heard about the Purple Een Spirit Spring Bead, he started to suspect that the Purple Een Spirit Spring Bead had something to do with the Purple Een Spirit Spring Bead. He asked even more eagerly, "Brother Gongye, how did you get the Purple Een Spirit Spring Bead?" Gongye spoke with a slightly proud tone. "Speaking of which, the Purple Een Spirit Spring Bead has something to do with the two cultivators who fought. That powerful female cultivator senior seemed to be called Jishi. At that time, the man took out a bead and sneered, saying that if you have the ability, then come and take it. Unexpectedly, the man got too carried away and ended up getting sneak attacked by the female cultivator called Jishi. The Purple Een Spirit Spring Bead then fell into the Starry Sky Spiritual Spring Pool outside the Eternal Night Domain. That female cultivator moved very quickly. She snatched the Purple Een Spirit Spring Bead first, and then quickly escaped. The man felt angry and chased after her. Later, there was no more news about the two of them. The Purple Een Spirit Spring Bead soaked in the Purple Een Spirit Spring Bead. So much. Ningcheng's shocked voice grew a little louder, which immediately attracted a lot of attention. But Ningcheng didn't care about it at this time. Gongye whispered, "Yes, that Starry Sky Spiritual Spring Pool became special because the Purple Een Spirit Spring Bead fell in it. The water in the spiritual spring pool can help people comprehend spirit techniques, and even help body-forging cultivators strengthen their meridians. This spring water naturally becomes precious. I obtained these 10 drops by accident. Today, I took this opportunity to give them to Fairy Baijiao." Ningcheng took in a breath of cold air. No wonder everyone in this place knew about the Purple Een Spirit Spring Bead. He didn't expect that the Purple Een Spirit Spring Bead would come from such a place. The Purple Een Spirit Spring Bead had only fallen into the Purple Een Spirit Spring Bead. Yet it caused such a huge effect. Didn't this mean that the Purple Een Spirit Spring Bead was too powerful? In any case, Ningcheng felt sure that even if the Purple Een Spirit Spring Bead wasn't the Purple Een Spirit Spring Bead, the Purple Een Spirit Spring Bead was the thing he was looking for. It wasn't just because of the same name, but also because the functions of the two were similar. Strengthening spirit techniques and reshaping the meridians. The Purple Een Spirit Spring Bead couldn't reshape the meridians because the Purple Een Spirit Spring Bead only soaked in it for a moment. But where could he find Jishi? Besides, even if he found Jishi, how could he take back the Purple Een Spirit Spring Bead? That Jishi and another man fought outside the Eternal Night Domain, and even destroyed the Eternal Night Domain's array entrance. Moreover, no Eternal Starry Sky Emperor came out to stop them, which showed that their cultivations far surpassed Eternal Starry Sky Emperors. Facing an Eternal Realm Holy Emperor, he had to escape. But facing Jishi, a cultivator stronger than an Eternal Starry Sky Emperor, he wouldn't even have a chance to escape. Thinking of this, Ningcheng's eyes dimmed. In the end, his strength was just too low. Chapter 656. While Ningcheng was still worried about the Purple Een Spirit Spring in the Eternal Night Domain, Ji Luofei had already arrived at the periphery of the Ice Immortal Ridge. After Ji Luofei pushed open the door and entered, the Ice Immortal Ridge changed again. The crack in the Ice Immortal Ridge slowly closed again. Many cultivators who wanted to enter the Ice Immortal Ridge hurriedly retreated, and watched as the crack slowly closed. Ji Luofei knew about the Ice Immortal Ridge, but she had never come here before. He only knew that this place was sealed in ice all year round, so he couldn't see the slightest thing inside. The ice lake was clearly in the Ice Immortal Ridge, but it did not freeze. Above the frozen lake, there was a thick fog that was several times colder than the surrounding ice rocks. This kind of chill carried a trace of the aura of death. Perhaps after a while, she would not be burnt to ashes by the flames of chi deviation, but would be turned into ashes by the cold of the frozen lake. Ji Luofei flew for several days. However, not only did she not find any usable cultivation resources, she also could not find any mystic realm. 2 days later, she felt her celestial essence going out of control, and her entire body felt like it was on fire. The reopening of the ice immortal ridge on the radial immortal star had indeed attracted the attention of many people. However, this time it was exactly the same as the last time it was opened, and the time it took for it to close was even shorter. In just a few months, the crack closed again. Just like last time, none of the cultivators who entered the ice immortal ridge came out. Ning Cheng left a spiritual consciousness message on the spot where Su Baijiao had pinched. Meet me at the Eternal Night City's Eternal Sand Rest Stop tomorrow night. I have something you need. Bang. At this time, Ji Luofei's feet touched the ground. She had already reached the bottom of the lake. Su Baijiao and Duan Gantai walked side by side behind this man, and followed him inside. While Ji Luofei was still hesitating, several figures quickly passed by her, and rushed into the crack in the ice immortal ridge. Poof! The terrifying flame swept through Ji Luofei's Zifu, causing her Zifu to instantly suffer heavy damage. Unable to bear it any longer, she spat out a mouthful of hot blood. His blood splattered on the icy rocks beside him, making a sizzling sound. His blood was so hot, yet it was unable to melt even the slightest bit of the ice. If it weren't for her flying for several days in the ice immortal ridge, which stimulated her celestial essence, her cultivation deviation might not have happened so quickly, but it would have broken out in the future. Was this the crack of the ice immortal ridge? Ji Luofei looked at the mouth of the Grim Reaper and subconsciously shuddered. She did not know if it was the right thing to do to go in or not. This kind of burning came from the meridians of her body, as if she would be completely burned to ashes in the next moment. Ji Luofei suddenly felt ashamed of her own hesitation, as the others did not hesitate to rush in. She had made up her mind to come, and had even specially prepared for a period of time before entering the ice immortal ridge. Now that she was at the entrance of the ice immortal ridge, she actually didn't dare to enter. After entering, Ji Luofei felt a horrifying chill wrapping around her body. She could only continue to stimulate her celestial essence to fly inside. Although she had advanced from the celestial novice realm to the celestial bridge realm in just 5 years, she had forcibly absorbed a massive amount of celestial essence chi. However, her foundation was far from reaching such a level. In addition to the terrifying coldness, it also gave people a strong feeling that there must be a lot of good things inside. Ji Luofei gave out a sigh. She was in a hurry to improve her cultivation as soon as possible. She had crazily absorbed perpetual moon pills and swallowed other medicinal pills, but she had forgotten that haste makes waste in cultivation. Even if others had so many cultivation resources, it would take them 50 years or even 500 years to complete the consumption. However, she had forcibly completed it in just 5 years. With a powerful expert like Su Yukinghong here, Duan Gantai's hidden killing intent could not escape from Su Yukinghong. Ning Cheng secretly shook his head. Couldn't this fellow bear it a little longer? A rich wine fragrance filled the entire hall in an instant. This wine fragrance gave people an indescribable lingering feeling. This was definitely a good wine. Even people who didn't understand wine would know that this was a first-class wine. Ning Cheng reached out and took Su Baijiao's wine glass. However, he did not expect that Su Baijiao would gently pinch his finger. Although it was just a touch, Ning Cheng knew that Duan Gantai had already seen it. Although the flames in her body burned fiercely, Ji Luofei couldn't help but think of Ning Cheng. She couldn't help but think of the tenderness and lingering feelings between her and Ning Cheng. This only made the flames in her body burn even faster, and the temperature rise even faster. When Ji Luofei felt a trace of chill, her heart sank again. The heart devil's flame caused by the devil's chi deviation had also been offset by the chill. Even if her cultivation had fallen, without the devil's heart flame, she couldn't resist the chill at all. "Dear, I'm leaving first." After Ji Luofei spoke this sentence in despair, she looked back at the endless ice road. She then slanted towards a fork in the ice cave, and jumped into an ice lake. The cultivators inside the ice immortal ridge could only see the ice rocks on the left and right moving slowly, while the space around them grew smaller and smaller. Duan Gantai carried the wine pot and wine glass, while Su Baijiao delivered one glass after another to the guests. Just like this, they quickly arrived in front of Ning Cheng. As the devil's flame and the chill continued to fuse, the devil's flame within Ji Luofei's body gradually weakened. At the same time, Her cultivation also weakened under the collision of the ice and fire. Before she even reached the bottom of the ice lake, her cultivation had already fallen from the Celestial Bridge realm to the Celestial Gatherer realm. However, it still didn't stop, and her cultivation still continued to decline. What surprised Ji Luofei was that after she entered, she couldn't see any other cultivators. No matter how long she flew, no matter how fast she moved, she was the only one in the surroundings except for the occasional forks in the road. After spurting out another mouthful of blood, Ji Luofei's eyes flashed with despair. She finally understood what was going on. For Ji Luofei, rather than burning to death due to the devil's flame, she might as well take the initiative to jump into the ice lake filled with the aura of death. She could feel the aura of death because the ice lake was too cold. Because of this cold, it brought about the aura of death. How did Su Baijiao know what he needed? Ningqing looked up in shock, but Su Baijiao had almost finished the toast. Her cultivation method was powerful enough to absorb these resources, but her body couldn't bear it. The crack in the ice immortal ridge seemed endless. As Ji Luofei flew all the way, she could see some forks in the road from time to time. Some of these forks led to an ice rock wall, while others led to a small ice lake. However, everything in this place was sealed in ice. Everything in front of her was a snow-white color. Ji Luofei had just fallen into the lake when the cold, which could freeze a body-forging cultivator into nothingness, immediately penetrated Ji Luofei's body. The burning celestial essence flames within Ji Luofei's body collided with the cold, which unexpectedly gave Ji Luofei a comfortable feeling. At this time, all the cultivators remaining in the ice immortal ridge panicked and wanted to quickly retreat. However, even if they retreated quickly, they couldn't keep up with the closing speed of the 3-foot-wide crack. Previously, he had used millions of perpetual moon pills, 5 years, the mysterious yellow origin, and a large number of medicinal pills. However, he still couldn't even step into the Heaven's Mandate realm. He couldn't even cultivate to the full circle. This speed might be fast for others, but for Ningqing, it was too slow. He couldn't continue like this. When the ice rocks on both sides closed, the trapped cultivators finally understood why none of the cultivators who entered the ice immortal ridge came out. The ice rocks on both sides were extremely hard. Even cultivators in the heaven-seated realm could only watch as the ice rocks closed up and turned into nothingness. Ningqing immediately thought of the none to depend on wine. He had always wanted to drink a pot of the real none to depend on wine. However, he had always been running around to improve his cultivation, and never had a good opportunity to do so. Ningqing still wondered if Duan Gantai's temperament had changed. But when Duan Gantai and Su Baijiao greeted the next cultivator, Duan Gantai's intense murderous intent still shrouded over them. Ningqing breathed a sigh of relief. He was just thinking what was going on. This guy really was a dog that could not change its nature to eat shit. At this moment, Ji Luofei's cultivation and her celestial essence spiritual consciousness turned into barrels of intense oil that poured into the flames burning within her body. It seemed that the higher her cultivation, the more intense the oil. At this time, Ji Luofei stood outside the ice immortal ridge and saw a crack about 1 foot high and 3 feet wide. As her spiritual consciousness swept in, she couldn't even see the end of it. The icy coldness inside felt as if it wanted to freeze her spiritual consciousness. He hadn't gathered all the wood origin in the mysterious yellow bead yet. Therefore, if he went inside to cultivate, he would easily expose himself. Ningqing rubbed his hair in distress and finally clenched his fists. Once exposed, he would use the starry sky wheel to escape. He couldn't afford to waste any more time like this. Distinguished guests, Su Yuqinghong is very grateful to my Su clan for attending my daughter Bai Jiao's wedding. In order to express my Su clan's gratitude, my daughter Bai Jiao and my son-in-law Gantai would like to propose a toast to you. After the man who called himself Su Yuqinghong finished speaking, he raised his hand and took out a wine pot. At the same time, he opened the spout of the wine pot. At this moment, Ningqing's voice and smile once again appeared in Ji Luofei's mind. Her face suddenly showed a calm look, and her figure flashed before disappearing into the icy crack. An iron door appeared in the range of her spiritual consciousness. Ji Luofei, who had already turned purple from the cold, rushed directly towards the iron door and pushed it open. The iron gate actually opened. There were no restrictions, nor were there any obstructions. Just when Ningqing thought that Duan Gantai would also reveal a strong killing intent, he saw a smile on Duan Gantai's face. His ugly face didn't show any discomfort. It was as if he wasn't the same person as before. Duan Gantai already paid a lot of attention to him. Now that Su Baijiao acted like this, it would be strange if Duan Gantai didn't notice it. Ningqing felt a little uncomfortable in his heart. He wasn't afraid of Duan Gantai, but he felt that Su Baijiao did it on purpose. A middle-aged man with a long beard walked into the hall of the wooden house. The cultivators in the hall immediately stopped talking and stood up to greet this cultivator with cupped fists. Ningqing also quickly stood up. He didn't use his spiritual consciousness to scan this cultivator. With his vision, he could tell that this cultivator was at least a late-stage life and death expert, or even an eternal-level expert. Chapter 657. Ningqing drank the wine in the cup in one gulp, and an indescribable reluctance lingered on his lips. It felt as if he had a kind of attachment and dependence here. At this moment, Ningqing had a feeling that if he learned a magical skill or spirit technique at this time, the effect would be much stronger than when he didn't drink. Good wine! Some of the heaven-seated powerhouses exclaimed. Su Yuqinghong's voice arrived in time. Many thanks for everyone's appreciation. This is one of the few lingering wine in my Su clan's collection. Today, I would like to take this opportunity to get drunk with everyone. Su Yuqinghong will have to leave for a while. Distinguished guests, please make yourselves at home. We will be serving lingering fruits for you to taste. Ningqing looked at the empty wine cup and shook his head speechlessly. He liked this wine very much, but there was only one cup of wine. How could he get drunk with it? His guess should be right. Su Yuqinghong must have left because he had more important guests to accompany. Compared to heaven-seated powerhouses, it was obviously life and death or eternal realm powerhouses. After Su Yuqinghong left, Su Baijiao and Duan Gantai also followed suit. At this time, a maid came forward to deliver lingering fruits, and Ningqing also received one. From the name and aura, Ningqing guessed that this lingering fruit should be the fruit used to brew lingering wine. Ningqing did not eat the spiritual fruit, but took out a jade box and put away the spiritual fruit. He planned to leave the Su clan. Although he did not obtain the Purple Een Spirit Spring, he did obtain some news about the Purple Een Spirit Spring bead, which made this trip worthwhile. Next, he had to work hard to find resources for cultivation and advance to the heaven-seated realm. At this time, a heaven-seated cultivator from the Su clan suddenly stood up and spoke to the cultivators in the wooden hall with cupped fists. Friends, it's rare for everyone to get together. Those who can sit here are all powerhouses of the Eternal Night Domain, or distinguished guests with extraordinary status in the Eternal Night Domain. The Eternal Night Domain and its surrounding void are vast and boundless, and we can all obtain many treasures from it. Maybe everyone has something that the other party needs, but these things are not of much use to us. Here, on behalf of the Su clan, I am initiating an item exchange. If you want to participate, please stay. If you don't want to participate, you can go to the reception room to taste the spiritual fruit. No one was unwilling to participate in this kind of activity. Just as the cultivator from the Su clan said, none of those who could come here had a low status. It was rare to come across this kind of trading activity. Only a fool would be willing to leave now that they had encountered it. Even if it wasn't for trading, it was good to broaden his horizons. Even Ningqing dispelled the idea of leaving. That Su clan's heaven-seated cultivator seemed to know that no one had left, so he took out a jade box and spoke. Then I'll throw out a brick to attract jade. This is the Ascending Dragon Orchid. I don't need to talk about the uses of the Ascending Dragon Orchid. Everyone already knows that I want to exchange it for perpetual moon pills or permanent essence pills. Ningqing knew about the Ascending Dragon Orchid. It was a top-grade starry sky spiritual grass for body forging. A mature Ascending Dragon Orchid was a starry sky grade 8 spiritual grass. To be honest, Ningqing also wanted such a starry sky. He understood that this Su clan's cultivator was truly throwing a brick to attract jade. Otherwise he would not have taken out such a good thing, just to exchange it for perpetual moon pills for cultivation. In this case, as an outsider cultivator, he had to keep a low profile. Apparently, Ningcheng was not the only body-forging cultivator. The ascending dragon orchid immediately attracted the attention of several cultivators, including 2 heaven-seated cultivators. In the end, it ended up in the hands of a heaven-seated cultivator for 400,000 perpetual moon pills. Although the ascending dragon orchid ended up being exchanged, the atmosphere at the scene had already heated up. Many cultivators took out a variety of things to trade. Unlike the other trade fairs Ningcheng had seen before, most of the things traded here were relatively rare items. Medicinal pills and weapons, on the other hand, were relatively rare. Moreover, the 2 sides rarely asked for perpetual moon pills. Most of them bartered for other items. Ningcheng did not make a move. It was not that he did not want these things, but the items he had on him were either very precious or ordinary. After a Heaven's Mandate cultivator finished trading an artifact crafting material, a heaven-seated cultivator sitting at the head of the hall stood up. He raised a jade strip and spoke. I have a jade strip here. This jade strip contains a void positional map, which points in the direction of a spatial collapse maelstrom. I don't know what's inside, but I do know that a lot of pure celestial essence would pour out of this collapsing maelstrom every 49 days. It's just that this celestial essence chi dissipates too quickly, which is not conducive to cultivation. The heaven-seated cultivator had not finished speaking when Ningcheng guessed what was going on. This cultivator must have accidentally found this place, and thought that the spatial collapse maelstrom contained a perpetual moon pill pond. That's why he chose to stay near this spatial collapse maelstrom for a long time. Judging from the way he took out the positional jade strip, even if he stayed here for a long time, he would not be able to enter this spatial collapse maelstrom to find the pill pond. He had no choice but to take it out for a trade. If Ningcheng could guess it, then the other cultivators could also guess it. Everyone stared at the jade strip, but everyone knew that even if they obtained the jade strip, they would not be able to obtain the pill mountain or the pill pond inside the spatial vortex. I can trade this jade strip for anything. As long as there is something that moves me, I can take it out. The heaven-seated cultivator with the jade strip spoke in a very ordinary manner. As for what could move him, no one else knew about it. I'll give you 300,000 perpetual moon pills for this jade strip. Immediately, a cultivator stood up and spoke. It stood to reason that 300,000 perpetual moon pills was not a small amount. However, the heaven-seated cultivator still shook his head. Everyone thought to themselves that although this person spoke nicely, he did not want to trade casually. Then someone brought out a variety of starry sky spiritual grasses, weapons and other things, but none of them satisfied the heaven-seated cultivator. Ningcheng wanted to wait a little longer, but when he saw the accompanying cultivator from the Su clan leave, he immediately took out a jade box and threw it to the heaven-seated cultivator. You don't have to open this jade box. Infiltrate it with your spiritual consciousness, and see if this thing can be traded with you. If you can, then give me the jade strip. If you can't, then forget it. However, as long as you agree to trade with me, you will have to swear on the thunder tribulation that you will not go to this place for 10 years. At the same time, you will also not tell a third person the location of this place in any form. The restrictions arranged by Ningcheng were a bit special. Only by holding it in his hand and infiltrating it with his spiritual consciousness could one feel the aura of the things inside. The heaven-seated cultivator glanced at Ningcheng with some disdain in his eyes. Ningcheng looked like a disorderly celestial wheel, which meant that he was at most a Heaven's Mandate cultivator. A Heaven's Mandate cultivator dared to make him swear on the thunder tribulation? Truly courageous. However, when his spiritual consciousness infiltrated the jade box, his hand trembled, and he almost dropped the jade box on the ground. Immediately, he put away the jade box as fast as he could and threw the jade strip to Ningcheng. Okay, I'll trade. Yangjun, swear that after trading this jade strip, I will not intentionally go to the place marked on the jade strip for 10 years. At the same time, I will also no longer tell a third person the location of this place in any form. If I violate this oath, may the thunder tribulation turn me to ashes. He had never intended to go to this place. As such, there was no difference between swearing and not swearing. Even so, he had said that he intentionally went to this place. If he accidentally went to this place, then the oath would not count. Ningqing heard the other party's words, but he didn't care about it. What he wanted was the latter sentence, that this cultivator named Yang Jun would no longer sell the jade strip to others. The rest of the cultivators felt surprised. What exactly did Ningqing take out? Not only did he force this heaven-seated powerhouse to trade immediately, but he also swore an oath. Under the amazed gazes of the surrounding people, Ningqing calmly put away the jade strip. He then took out a small time stone. Since this cultivator was a heaven-seated powerhouse, he definitely knew the value of a time stone. Sure enough, he had not guessed wrong. This heaven-seated cultivator could not resist the temptation of a time stone. This was a treasure containing the laws of time. After Ningqing put away the jade strip, all the gazes focused on Ningqing. No one dared to ask what the heaven-seated cultivator had received from Ningqing. However, everyone wanted to know what kind of treasure made this heaven-seated cultivator so moved that he immediately swore to trade. Some of the cultivators who knew about Ningqing's background had their eyes lit up. Previously, Ningqing had casually given away the tail feather of a starry sky grade 9 demonic beast, Flame Wind Crow. Now he casually took out something else in exchange for this jade strip. From this, they felt sure that this cultivator had even more good things on him. Ningqing acted as if nothing had happened. However, he had already decided to leave. According to his original idea, he wanted to open an alchemy or artifact crafting shop in the Eternal Night domain, and then slowly accumulate perpetual moon pills for cultivation. However, he also knew that he had no choice but to do so. With his terrifying consumption of cultivation resources, alchemy or artifact crafting would not satisfy him. Moreover, alchemy and artifact crafting would waste a lot of time and affect his cultivation. After learning that there were many perpetual moon pill mountains in the void outside the Eternal Night domain, he had the idea of going out to look for them. However, this jade strip only strengthened his idea. His situation was different from others. Only with a windfall could he quickly advance to the heaven-seated realm. Ningqing had not yet stood up when Su Yuqinghong entered the hall again. Su Baijiao and Duan Gantai still followed behind him, just like two tails. He smiled and greeted everyone before speaking to Ningqing in a genial tone. "Dao friend Ningqing, you just traded a jade strip from Dao friend Yang Jun. I would like to ask you to exchange it with me. Whether it is perpetual moon pills or permanent essence pills, or anything else, you can just speak your mind." Ningqing felt that this was not good. If he did not have the mysterious yellow bead, he would have agreed 100% to Su Yuqinghong's condition. Permanent essence pills were the best resource for cultivation. However, he had the mysterious yellow bead. Moreover, he subconsciously felt that this spatial collapse maelstrom that Yang Jun spoke about contained something good. Some of the cultivators also looked at Yang Jun. They wondered if Yang Jun would regret it if he learned that the Su clan was willing to pay such a price for the jade strip. Chapter 658. Yang Jun's expression remained calm. He naturally would not regret it. After cultivating to his level, perpetual moon pills and permanent essence pills were certainly good things. But could they compare to time stones? Ningqing respectfully stood up and cupped his fists before speaking. This junior has just arrived in the Eternal Night domain, and has not seen the void collapse maelstrom yet. Therefore, I want to take a look. I hope senior can understand. When the cultivators in the hall heard Ningqing's words, they all shook their heads in disdain. If they had not seen a void collapse, who would they be deceived by? How could any cultivator who came to the Eternal Night domain not have seen a void collapse? Su Yuqinghong still had a smile on his face, as if he really believed Ningqing's words. Instead, he nodded and said, "In that case, I won't take away your treasures. Dao friend Ningqing, please take a seat." Ningqing did not sit down and spoke up in a polite tone. "This junior has disturbed you for a long time. It's time for me to leave. Many thanks for senior's hospitality." Su Yuqinghong nodded and said to the maidservant on the side, "Quickly lead the way for the guests." Ningqing left the Su clan with a smile and joy. When he walked out of the Su clan's gate, he even rewarded the maidservant with a low-grade defensive Dao artifact to show that he felt very satisfied with the Su clan's wedding. However, after Ning Cheng left the Su clan, the smile on his face immediately disappeared. Su Yukinghong was definitely a person who hid a dagger behind his smile. Don't look at this person's friendly demeanor. Ning Cheng felt sure that as soon as he left the Eternal Night Domain, he would immediately be targeted. With the status of the Su clan in the Eternal Night Domain, it would be strange if he could go to the place where the jade strip was stored after taking it. However, he did not worry about it. With his current cultivation, as long as he left the Eternal Night Domain and controlled the Starry Sky Wheel to escape, it would be strange if the Su clan could catch up to him. Nevertheless, Ning Cheng did not rush to leave the Eternal Night City. He believed that with the status of the Su clan in the Eternal Night Domain, they would not go as far as to attack him in the Eternal Night City. Even if they wanted to snatch his things, they would at least have to wait until he left the Eternal Night Domain, or until the Su clan felt confident that he could not leave the Eternal Night Domain. Ning Cheng was not in a hurry to leave the Eternal Night Domain. His only purpose was to see Su Baijiao. Su Baijiao said that she knew what he wanted. The only explanation was that she could see his desire for the purple of the purple Yin. Although Ning Cheng believed that the purple Yin spring water would not have much effect on Qionghua's injuries, but if it was available, Ning Cheng would not mind getting some. Whether it was effective or not, he would only know after trying it out. Ning Cheng had initially thought that the Perpetual Sand Rest Stop was not a small place in the Eternal Night City, but after asking around, he found out that it was just a small and unremarkable rest stop. If Su Baijiao hadn't specifically mentioned this name, it would have been very difficult for him to find such an inn in the city of Evernight and rest there. Su Baijiao asked him to meet at the Perpetual Sand Rest Stop tomorrow night. However, after Ning Cheng found the Perpetual Sand Rest Stop, he did not go in. Regardless of whether this rest stop had anything to do with the Su clan or not, since he had already made an appointment for tomorrow night, then he would have to come back tomorrow night. Ning Cheng went to another rest stop in the Eternal Night Domain, called the Eternal Immortal Rest Stop. Although he did not have many Starry Sky Essence crystals on him, it was more than enough to stay in an ordinary resting pen for a night. Ning Cheng did not pay for one night's room, he directly paid for 5 nights. Even if he felt sure that he wouldn't stay here for more than 2 nights, he didn't care about these Starry Sky crystals. With the status of the Su clan in the Eternal Night Domain, his every move at this time would definitely be monitored. Instead of that, he might as well pay more for the room and use it to confuse them. He really did not have any immortal crystals or perpetual moon pills on him. Otherwise, he would have to pay at least a month's worth of room fees. If not for that jade strip, Ning Cheng might have already wandered around the Eternal Night City to see if there was a good place for him to set up an artifact crafting stall. Now that he couldn't go anywhere, he could only wait until tomorrow night to meet Su Baijiao. Therefore, as soon as he entered the room, Ning Cheng began to arrange various defensive arrays. Defense, shielding, warning. At this time, Ning Cheng fully realized how important it was to be proficient in array formations. In order not to shock others, Ning Cheng did not arrange high-level array formations. Most of them were Grade 3 Celestial Arrays or Grade 4 Celestial River Arrays. Once he arranged a Grade 6 Celestial River Defensive Array, it would definitely alarm a large number of people in the Eternal Night Domain. After arranging the array formations, Ning Cheng took out the jade strip Yang Jun had given him and carefully looked at it. From the jade strip Yang Jun gave him, he could see that this spatial collapse maelstrom was very far away from the Eternal Night Domain. For Ning Cheng, the further this place was from the Eternal Night Domain, the better. However, he feared that others could easily find it if it was too close. The jade strip's directions were very clear, which made Ning Cheng wonder if Yang Jun had engraved this jade strip himself. Maybe Yang Jun had obtained this jade strip from someone else, but he couldn't find a way to get in, so he took it out for a transaction. After putting away the jade strip, Ning Cheng closed his eyes to rest. Without perpetual moon pills for cultivation, he didn't want to cultivate in this place. The only thing he could do now was to continue deducing array formations. Most of the day passed by quickly. Just as Ning Cheng immersed himself in deducing array formations, his defensive array formation suddenly moved slightly, and a shadow suddenly emerged from his defensive array formation. Ning Cheng suddenly sobered up and immediately stood up. At the same time, A Tao artifact long spear appeared in his hands, while the twin wings of the heavenly clouds readied itself. Although his array formation was not of a high level, it was something he had personally arranged. Except for powerhouses like Zhongli Baiqi, only a few people could unwittingly enter his defensive array formation without triggering it. "Who is your excellency?" Ningqing stared at the cultivator who entered his defensive array, and asked in a cold voice. Although he didn't look nervous, he felt even more shocked in his heart. He could feel that the cultivator who entered his defensive array didn't have a higher cultivation than him. It definitely wasn't a cultivator in the heaven-seated realm. A cultivator with no higher cultivation than him could enter his defensive array without making a sound. It was just too terrifying. There were only two reasons for this. One was that the other party was much stronger than him, and the second was that the other party's attainments in array formations were much higher than his. "You know me. Your array formations aren't bad." With a familiar voice, the cultivator removed the mask on his face. "It's you." Ningqing felt surprised. He didn't expect Duan Gantai to come looking for him. In his mind, Duan Gantai should be holding Su Baijiao in the bridal chamber at this time. How could he find him here? This fellow's jealousy couldn't be so disgusting, right? He even squeezed out of the bridal chamber to teach him a lesson. An object of jealousy for no reason? Duan Gantai didn't show any of the killing intent and jealousy Ningqing had seen before. Instead, he looked at Ningqing calmly and said, "Are you thinking that I should be sleeping with Su Baijiao in my arms? Why would I have the time to come here and find trouble with you?" Ningqing acquiesced. He was a little surprised by Duan Gantai's accurate judgment. Was this fellow really the same person he saw fighting over a woman? "I have my own skills, so no one knows that I came here. My other self is lying on Su Baijiao's bed. Of course, Su Baijiao wouldn't sleep with someone like me in her arms. At least I have some self-awareness." After Duan Gantai finished, he didn't wait for Ningqing's invitation, and took the initiative to sit down. Ningqing also sat down and poured a cup of spiritual tea for Duan Gantai before saying, "Tell me why you came here. I have no interest in you and Su Baijiao." Duan Gantai showed a slight smile. "I know that you have no interest in Su Baijiao. Su Baijiao shouldn't be worthy of you. I believe I didn't misread you. I came here today to ask you for a favor. Of course I won't treat you badly." Ningqing fully understood at this moment that this Duan Gantai was an extremely intelligent fellow. This kind of person would never put his jealousy and dissatisfaction in front of him. From this, Ningqing understood that the Duan Gantai he saw in the Su clan was not his real style. Thinking back to Duan Gantai's performance in the middle of the wooden hall, even after Su Baijiao pinched his finger, Duan Gantai still remained calm. This was to show his magnanimity in front of the Su clan, and to suppress the jealousy and anger in his heart. However, after Su Baijiao walked past Ningqing, he couldn't help but release his murderous intent towards Ningqing. This showed that although he pretended to be magnanimous, his shrewdness ran deep. Even if he pretended to be magnanimous, he could only pretend for a while. When the people from the Su clan saw this, they naturally wouldn't put a superficial cultivator like Duan Gantai in their eyes. This fellow truly had a good mind. He pretended to be patient in front of the Su clan's elders, and then couldn't help it. This kind of act was more realistic than directly acting out. Ningqing spoke up in a calm voice. "What do you want me to help you with? I just arrived in the Eternal Night domain, and have limited abilities. Whether I can help you or not is another matter. I know that the Su clan wants something from me, and the Su clan also wants something from you. You don't have to refute it. As for what you want, I won't ask. As for what you want from me, I won't say it. Let's work together. Otherwise, you can never escape from the Eternal Night domain." After listening to Duan Gantai's words, Ningqing sneered. "Brother Duan, whether I can escape from the Eternal Night domain or not, that's my own business. You don't have to worry about it. Besides, I'm going to stay in the Eternal Night domain for a while." Duan Gantai laughed. "Brother Ning, we're the same kind of people. I can guess one or two things about what you're thinking. If you want to cooperate with me, then let's not have any suspicions. Maybe you're relying on an escape talisman, or a flight-type weapon to say that no one can do anything to you after leaving the Eternal Night domain. But I can tell you for sure that you underestimate the Su clan. Not to mention whether you can escape with an escape talisman or a flight-type weapon. I'm sure that you can't leave the Eternal Night Domain. Ning Cheng's expressions changed slightly. This was what he was most worried about. He could definitely escape with his Starry Sky Wheel, which meant that he did not fear Duan Gantai's threat. What he feared the most was that he couldn't leave the Eternal Night Domain. Let's work together. I also want to leave the Eternal Night Domain. You saw my means just now. I can easily pass through your array formation. However, my means can only deceive the Su clan for a short time. It's not enough to leave the Eternal Night Domain. Therefore, I need your help, and you also need my help. Duan Gantai's tone sounded very sincere. Conditions. Ningqing spoke up without any hurry. Since Duan Gantai came to him at this time, it meant that Duan Gantai was in a much more dangerous situation compared to him. He believed that Duan Gantai had some kind of treasure on him. Otherwise, the Su clan would not tie Duan Gantai up by marrying Su Baijiao off. Chapter 659. 1,000,000 Perpetual Moon Pills. Duan Gantai spoke up in a straightforward manner. Ningqing's face was calm, and one could not see any abnormalities, but in his heart he had already started to tumble endlessly. 1,000,000 perpetual moon pills. This Duan Gantai actually took it out. This person was just too rich. He always thought that he was rich, but compared to Duan Gantai, he was just a poor man. In the beginning, he had managed to obtain the Baiqi artifact crafting store from an eternal-level heavenly emperor, through the temptation of a good fortune fragment. Moreover, under the pressure of various powerhouses, he managed to obtain 500,000 perpetual moon pills. Duan Gantai was just a trivial heaven's mandate cultivator, yet he could take out 1,000,000 spirit stones without even batting an eyelid. Moreover, since Duan Gantai mentioned perpetual moon pills, it meant that he knew that he urgently needed perpetual moon pills. Only with more perpetual moon pills could he advance to the full circle of heaven's mandate realm, and then cross the tribulation to reach the heaven-seated realm. From this, it could be seen that not only was this person wealthy, but he also knew where the opponent's weakness was. I don't want perpetual moon pills, I need permanent essence pills. Ningqing secretly took in a deep breath, but his tone remained calm. He absolutely could not show an expression of 1,000,000 perpetual moon pills. Duan Gantai remained silent for a moment. I don't have many permanent essence pills, but I came to you in good faith. If you want to exchange it for permanent essence pills, I can give you 10,000 permanent essence pills. Ningqing felt even more shocked. 1,000,000 perpetual moon pills could theoretically be exchanged for 10,000 permanent essence pills. In fact, it was impossible to exchange for it. This Duan Gantai could come up with 10,000 permanent essence pills to cooperate with him, which meant that this cooperation would still be beneficial to him. Apart from the fact that he was in dire straits, his net worth was definitely several times more than that. Ningqing spoke up slowly. Brother Duan, 10,000 permanent essence pills might not even be 1/100th of what you offered. You might lack sincerity in this cooperation. Duan Gantai stared at Ningqing for a while before speaking up with the same calm voice. Brother Ning, I'm not asking you to cooperate with me. This is a good thing for both of us, and I am showing my sincerity by offering something. Even if I only have these 10,000 permanent essence pills, I will still give them to you. Compared to my life, cultivation resources are nothing. Besides, Duan Gantai's tone turned cold. Moreover, I know that your secret might be even bigger than mine. I might have obtained some cultivation resources, but as for how many good things you have, you should know it yourself, and the people from the Su clan should also know it. I'm only willing to take out these things. If you're really unwilling to cooperate with me, then I'll take my leave. I don't believe that I can't find a way out. Ningqing suddenly felt a little helpless. Since Duan Gantai only took out these things, he couldn't do anything about it. Seeing that Duan Gantai was about to leave, Ningqing had to stop him. Brother Duan, I have a good weapon and a few materials, but these things can't be turned into cultivation resources. That's why I want to take the risk of using Yang Jun's jade strip. How about this? You take out 1,000,000 perpetual moon pills and 10,000 permanent essence pills, and we'll make a deal. Otherwise, I will give Yongjun's jade strip to the Su clan. Alright, it's settled then. Duan Gantai didn't wait for Ningcheng to continue and directly took out a ring and threw it to Ningcheng. It was so decisive that Ningcheng couldn't believe it. Ningcheng took the ring and swept it with his spiritual consciousness. Sure enough, it contained 1,000,000 perpetual moon pills and 10,000 permanent essence pills. He felt a little bitter in his heart. It seemed like his appetite was too small. With Duan Gantai's forthrightness, if he wanted more he could still succeed. Duan Gantai seemed to understand Ningcheng's thoughts and spoke up calmly. First, I can only take out these things at most. If you want more, I won't trade with you. Second, the Su clan isn't eyeing your jade strip, but the other things on you. Even if you give the jade strip to the Su clan, you can't escape. Third, the things you traded with Yongjun will soon appear on Su Yukinghong's desk. You don't understand the Su clan. Let me give you a piece of advice. After escaping from the Eternal Night domain, if you insist on going to the place marked in the jade strip, you will only be courting death. I'm sure that the Su clan's people will be waiting for you in that place. The reason I know this is not because I know more than you, but because I know the Su clan better than you do. Thank you for reminding me. Ningcheng put away the ring, and his whole person completely calmed down, no longer showing any fluctuations. Duan Gantai's shrewdness and judgment far exceeded his expectations. It wasn't surprising for such a person to have so many good things. Duan Gantai showed an indiscernible smile. No, you owe me a favor. Just remember to pay it back in the future. Ningcheng also showed a smile. You're wrong. It's still within the scope of our cooperation. I don't owe you a favor. You helped me because you think highly of me and want to help me deal with the Su clan in the future. I don't have any hatred with the Su clan, so it's fine if I leave. But you and the Su clan might not be that simple, right? But if it's really as you said, I don't mind helping you in the future if possible. Duan Gantai nodded. Talking to smart people really saves energy. If you say you don't owe me, then you don't owe me anything. Let's not talk much nonsense. Let's talk about how we can cooperate. Ningcheng didn't bother to talk much with Duan Gantai. This fellow's scheming and appearance could match up to his outstanding appearance. Duan Gantai was a tactful person and didn't talk nonsense. After hearing Ningcheng's words, he directly spoke up. When we were toasting before, my wife pinched your finger. That's right. Maybe she had a crush on me and wanted to ask me out. This woman really doesn't follow the etiquette of a married woman. She hasn't even consummated their marriage. Yet she already knows how to ask out other men. In the words of my hometown, it's called asking out. Ningcheng seemed to be standing in Duan Gantai's perspective. Duan Gantai's face once again regained a calm look and interrupted Ningcheng's words. She said that she wants to meet you at the perpetual sand rest stop tomorrow night. She said that she has something you need. Ningcheng felt surprised. This Duan Gantai was too strange. He could even read the information from a spiritual consciousness imprint? Did this fellow have a spiritual consciousness thorn like him? But he didn't notice Duan Gantai's spiritual consciousness breaking through the spiritual consciousness imprint in his hand. However, he still remained calm on the surface. Yes, she did say that she has something I need. Duan Gantai showed a rare smile. If I'm not wrong, with your performance in the Su clan, the thing you need should be the purple Een spring water, right? Ningcheng felt a sense of helplessness in his heart. His performance was indeed too obvious. He could only admit it. Yes, I need the purple Een spring water. Duan Gantai's face returned to seriousness. I don't know what you need the purple Een spring water for, but I can tell you that the reputation of the purple Een spring water far outweighs its effects. Only the purple Een spirit spring bead, or the real purple Een spirit spring water, is a good thing. The purple Een spring water soaked in the purple Een spirit spring water is of little value. Ningcheng didn't speak. He completely agreed with Duan Gantai's judgment in his heart. He originally thought the same way, and this Duan Gantai had the same thoughts as him. Seeing Ningcheng remain silent, Duan Gantai continued. Moreover, Su Baijiao doesn't have much purple Een spring water in her hands. She called you over to tie you up with the purple Een spring water. The reason I gave you 1,000,000 perpetual moon pills and permanent essence pills is to ask you to give up this unrealistic and useless bait. Tell me what you think. Ningqing spoke up in a noncommittal tone. Duan Gantai spoke up with a solemn tone. I know where the two powerhouses who snatched the purple Een Spirit Spring Bead went, and I can also provide you with a place called the Temple of Falling Stars. It's a complimentary gift. What I'm asking you to do now is to go to the appointment tomorrow night, and then I'll catch you in the act. With my violent temper, I'll definitely start a fight with you on the spot. Just say that you can't fight in the Eternal Night domain. If you have the guts, then go to the Eternal Night Dueling Tower. I know about the Eternal Night Dueling Tower. Ningqing nodded. The jade strip that Su Baijiao gave him contained an introduction to the Eternal Night Dueling Tower. This place was located on the public square outside the Eternal Night domain. As long as one entered the Eternal Night Dueling Tower, one had to die and comprehend something before they could come out. One could even say that this was one of the cruelest challenge platforms that Ningqing had ever encountered. Although the other challenge platforms also had such a saying, it was not certain. However, in the Eternal Night Dueling Tower, one had to die. Yes, it's the Eternal Night Dueling Tower. The Eternal Night Dueling Tower is located on the Eternal Night public square outside the Eternal Night domain. Naturally, we can't really enter the Eternal Night Dueling Tower. Only by going to the Eternal Night public square would we have a chance to escape. Even if the Su clan is even more blatant, they would not dare to stop us from fighting for a woman on the street. Therefore, it will definitely succeed. Duan Gantai seemed to be afraid that Ningqing might not understand it, and spoke in a very careful manner. Ningqing did not know much about the Su clan. He frowned slightly. You mean if we don't leave the Eternal Night domain, even if we escape now, we won't be able to escape? You will definitely not be able to escape. You will know why in the future, but I don't have time to explain it to you right now. With your attainments in array formations, you still don't know what an aura-locking grand array is. Duan Gantai spoke in a very affirmative tone. Ningqing felt shocked in his heart. Duan Gantai did not know about his attainments in array formations. Therefore, when he spoke those words, he fully understood why Duan Gantai felt so afraid. He was now an Imperial Array Master, who could barely arrange Celestial River Grade 6 array formations. Moreover, he had also come into contact with an aura-locking grand array. This grand array, as long as it collected a cultivator's aura and integrated it into the grand array, could lock the cultivator within the grand array. Once the cultivator tried to escape from the grand array would suddenly activate and block the cultivator's aura. Fortunately, he did not abruptly leave the Eternal Night domain. Otherwise, he might have already ended up in the Su clan's prison. The ignorant were fearless. Ningqing felt a chill in his heart. If he had known that the aura-locking grand array had trapped him, he would have also asked Duan Gantai for cooperation. Fortunately, Duan Gantai thought that his attainments in array formations were too low and lacked knowledge. Therefore, he simply came to him for cooperation. It seems that it was not wrong to keep a low profile. Without waiting for Ningqing to ask, Duan Gantai took the initiative to explain. The Su clan, on seeing us making such a big scene and wanting to go to the dueling platform, would definitely take the initiative to release the Eternal Night domain's aura-locking grand array, and let us temporarily go to the dueling tower in the Eternal Night Grand Public Square. This is our only chance. What if the Su clan refuses? Ningqing knew that Duan Gantai's plan was the best, but after knowing the danger, he also started to think about it. Chapter 660. Duan Gantai took a deep breath. Based on my understanding of the Su clan would definitely let us go to the Eternal Night Public Square. As one of the largest clans in the Eternal Night domain, as long as we don't really want to escape, the Su clan wouldn't be so shameless as to lock us up in public. If the Su clan really did this, it would be akin to lice on a bald man's head. It would make it clear that they want to steal our things, which would definitely cause others to covet us. Of course, if the Su clan really is so shameless and brainless, then we can only resign ourselves to our fate. Ningqing clenched his fists. He could feel that Duan Gantai's words did not mean despair. In other words, if the Su clan refused, Duan Gantai might have a way to leave. However, this method might hurt Duan Gantai's vitality. As for Ningcheng, he really had no way to leave. He had to resign himself to fate. Whether it was a blessing or a curse, he couldn't avoid it. As Ningcheng thought of this, he decided to let it go. If he really couldn't leave, then he would think about it again. Moreover, he believed that Duan Gantai's plan had a 90% chance of success. While escaping, even if there was a 10% chance of success, 90% chance of success was already very high. Brother Duan, I fully understand. I will definitely act according to the plan tomorrow night. Also, Brother Duan, please give me the Temple of Fallen Stars positional jade strip. Maybe I can use it in the future. Ningcheng let go of his thoughts and immediately made plans for the future. Duan Gantai showed a faint smile and put down the jade strip he had already prepared. His figure flashed and instantly disappeared from Ningcheng's room. Ningcheng's defensive array formation was like a curtain to him, and he didn't even need to lift a finger to open it. This time, Ningcheng's spiritual consciousness had already noticed the changes in the other party's movement technique and his array formation. He saw Duan Gantai's body flash as he walked forward, and then he easily passed through his array formation. Ningcheng remained silent. He had never seen such an array-breaking method before. The light flashing over Duan Gantai's body most likely belonged to a heaven-defying weapon. This weapon could ignore ordinary array formations. If this person became his enemy in the future, he would definitely become a powerful opponent. In any case, Ningcheng felt that Duan Gantai had no reason to lie to him. He picked up the jade strip given to him by Duan Gantai and casually scanned it with his spiritual consciousness. Inside it was the location of the vast and boundless starry sky. The Temple of Fallen Stars was located in a remote location within the starry sky. Putting away the jade strip, Ningcheng did not intend to go to the Temple of Fallen Stars in the near future. With his current cultivation, discussing the purple Een spirit spring bead with such an expert was simply courting death. However, this Duan Gantai really had a lot of secrets. He even knew about this. Ningcheng had already left the rest stop and arrived at the Eternal Sand rest stop. He did not even use his spiritual consciousness to sweep out for the cultivators following him. The Perpetual Sand rest stop was not only inconspicuous, but there were also not many people. The hall on the ground floor was not very spacious, and there were even fewer people. Including Ningcheng, there were only 3 guests. Ningcheng did not look for a booth. Rather, he went to the corner of the ground floor and asked for a pot of spiritual wine before sitting down. He wasn't thinking about Su Baijiao but Duan Gantai. Strictly speaking, his cooperation with Duan Gantai was mutually beneficial. But in the cooperation, he had gained all the advantages. Through this cooperation, one could only say that Duan Gantai was a very good person and was quite magnanimous. Ningcheng picked up the jug of wine and brought it to his mouth. This was his subconscious action, but when the jug of wine was close to his mouth, he suddenly felt that something was wrong. Even if he didn't understand the aura-locking grand array, as long as he explained it in detail, even if it took some time, he could explain it clearly. As long as he understood the power of the aura-locking grand array, he wouldn't need to take out these perpetual moon pills and permanent essence pills. Maybe he would even ask for something from him. With Duan Gantai's shrewdness, wouldn't he have the patience to explain it? Moreover, he even said that it would take too much time to explain it. He and Duan Gantai didn't know each other, so why did he let him take all the benefits? As long as he cooperated with him, he could just sit back and enjoy the fruits of others' labor? No, Ningcheng even subconsciously wanted to stand up. There must be something wrong here. Duan Gantai was definitely not the kind of person who would give benefits to others for no reason. For someone like him, even if he knew that the Su clan wanted to use him, he would still feel a little uncomfortable seeing Su Baijiao flirting with him, let alone help him. Although this kind of help was for Duan Gantai, Ningcheng still felt that something was wrong. However, after thinking about it, Ningcheng couldn't figure out what Duan Gantai was hiding. In any case, as long as he and Duan Gantai quarreled, they could go to the Eternal Night Grand Public Square. Once they reached the Eternal Night Grand Public Square, he and Duan Gantai would go their separate ways and would have nothing to do with each other. Even if Duan Gantai had any means, he wouldn't be able to harm him. As for the Temple of Falling Stars, he had no plans to go there in the short term. After leaving the Eternal Night Grand Public Square, with his speed, he wouldn't fear Duan Gantai. Even if the Su clan wanted to chase after him, they wouldn't be able to catch up to him. Did he really think that Duan Gantai, a gentleman, was a mean person? Just as Ning Qing frowned, a sweet voice arrived. Brother Ning, sorry to keep you waiting. Senior apprentice Sister Su is here. I just arrived. Ning Qing quickly stood up and smiled. Su Baijiao's eyes flashed with some hidden bitterness that others couldn't detect at all. She then spoke to Ning Cheng in a soft voice. Let's go to the private room. I booked a private room here. Others couldn't detect this hidden bitterness, but Ning Cheng saw it. Ning Cheng's eyes also showed some joy and a little uneasiness after seeing Su Baijiao's hidden bitterness. I'll listen to Senior Apprentice Sister Su's instructions. Su Baijiao nodded and went upstairs first. At the same time, she used a softer voice to reach Ning Cheng's ears. Big brother Ning, you can just call me Baijiao from now on. Ning Cheng and Duan Gantai had already discussed and decided to leave the Eternal Night domain with Su Baijiao's help. In Ning Cheng's opinion, it would be best for him to blow up this matter as much as possible. That way, Duan Gantai's reason would be even stronger. That's good, little sister Baijiao. Ning Cheng called out. Su Baijiao's face turned slightly red and quickened her pace. Soon, she walked into a private room on the second floor. She waited for Ning Cheng to come in before quickly activating the restrictions on the private room. Ning Cheng looked around the private room and found that there was even a bed inside. He sneered in his heart. She really came to seduce people on their wedding night. Baijiao. Ning Cheng hesitated. It seemed that he couldn't speak the next words. Su Baijiao took out some array flags and activated a few more restrictions on the private room before speaking. Big brother Ning, I shouldn't have come to see you today. The first time I saw you, I knew that you weren't an ordinary person. You haven't even reached the heaven-seated realm. Yet you could come to the Eternal Night domain. This time, you came to my wedding and even gave me such a precious gift. I really appreciate it. After guessing that you needed the purple Een spring water, I just wanted to tell you everything I know as soon as possible. I hope that you won't look down on me because of this. Little sister Baijiao. Ning Cheng's eyes flashed with gratitude. He took a step forward and grabbed Su Baijiao's hands. Su Baijiao's face turned red again and quickly struggled. However, Ning Cheng's grip was tight, and she couldn't break free. Su Baijiao's palms instantly turned moist in Ning Cheng's hands. Her voice also trembled. My Su clan still has half a bottle of purple Een spring water. Big brother Ning, let go of me. Baijiao, although the purple Een spring water is important, I am even more grateful to you. On this important day, you deliberately came out to tell me such a trivial thing. Thank you. Ning Cheng's eyes flashed with heat while he sneered in his heart. Sure enough, he didn't bring it with him. In the end, he still had to go to the Su clan to get it. If this half bottle of purple Een spring water could really cure Qianghua, he would do everything in his power to get it. However, Ning Cheng felt sure that this half bottle of purple Een spring water would not have much effect on Qianghua. Moreover, he was sure that even if he went to the Su clan, he wouldn't be able to get it. At best, it would only send him to the Su clan to cook. Don't do this, let go of me. Su Baijiao's face blushed like it was covered in rouge. However, Ning Cheng still did not let go. Bang! The door to the booth suddenly burst open. Duan Gantai, who was extremely angry, stood at the door and pointed his finger at Ning Cheng and Su Baijiao while trembling. His eyes were so red that they looked as if they were about to bleed. At the same time, waves of murderous intent erupted from his body. Behind Duan Gantai, there were several waiters from the rest stop, who also saw the ambiguous appearance of Ning Cheng and Su Baijiao. Su Baijiao quickly took her hand away from Ning Cheng's hand, and her face turned a little pale. Whether it was true or not, Duan Gantai was still her nominal husband. Yet, on the second day of their wedding, she had already fooled around with another male cultivator. If this matter spread out, it would definitely cause her to lose all her face. Duan Gantai suddenly brought out a long knife from his back and smashed the rest stop into pieces. Surnamed Ning, this one already knew that you were not a good person. Yet on the second day of this Duan's wedding, you actually seduced my woman. Die for me. Duan Gantai's forehead bulged with blue veins, and his murderous aura surged. It seemed that he would not stop until he swallowed Ning Cheng. Duan Gantai's voice was hoarse and loud, and in just a moment, everyone around knew about it. Soon, the matter spread like wildfire, and a large group of cultivators swarmed over to watch the fun. Su Baijiao of the Su clan had just gotten married, and had even invited many celebrities and powerhouses from the Eternal Night domain. Yet, in just one day, Su Baijiao had a private meeting with another man in the rest stop, and was caught red-handed by her son-in-law. Not to mention that this female cultivator was a vinegar jar. Even if she wasn't, no one would be able to endure such a thing. Gantai, don't be like this. You misunderstood. Let's go back and talk about it. Su Baijiao spoke up anxiously. She truly felt anxious. After Duan Gantai's death, it didn't matter to her. But now, she and Duan Gantai had just gotten married, and yet such a thing happened. It truly made her lose all her face. At this moment, she could only blame herself for being too impatient about this matter. If she had known earlier, she would have discussed it with her family and then slowly come up with a plan. Ningqing truly admired Duan Gantai. Not only did he find this place without anyone knowing, but he also accurately grasped the opportunity to open the door. This was a very good partner, but also a very strong opponent. Chapter 661. Ningcheng and Duan Gantai both rushed towards the Eternal Night public square in anger. When the two rushed out of the Eternal Night domain, no one stopped them. The two felt happy at the same time. At least the first step of their plan had succeeded. If Duan Gantai really did as he guessed, then he would truly be finished. Although Duan Gantai couldn't kill him with a sneak attack, he could still delay Ningcheng's escape. As long as he delayed Ningcheng for 1 or 2 breaths, the people from the Su clan would be able to stop him. The two of them walked all the way to the Eternal Night dueling tower on the Eternal Night public square, followed by a large number of cultivators who were there to watch the show. Swish! Ningcheng's shadow flashed at the edge of the public square array formation, before disappearing without a trace. Thinking until here, the originally vague idea suddenly became clear in Ningcheng's mind. What would happen if Duan Gantai escaped to the Evernight Grand Square at the same time as him, and Duan Gantai suddenly attacked him? Su Baijiao, at this moment, became an outsider. She wanted to rush up and grab Duan Gantai or stop Ningcheng, but she didn't have the courage to do so. The people on the street were already laughing at her. If she still stood up for them, she would have no place to hide her face. If the two of them went all out, and he didn't use Sunset's twilight, whether or not he could kill Duan Gantai was an entirely different matter. Even if he were an idiot, Duan Gantai understood that Ningcheng had deliberately suppressed him to the point of vomiting blood to make him relax his vigilance. What a cunning fellow. After losing 1,000,000 perpetual moon pills and 10,000 permanent essence pills, he still chose to escape using this secret technique. If he had known earlier, he would have just used a forbidden technique to escape, and let that Ning bastard take advantage of him. Duan Gantai cursed at Ningcheng while making dozens of hand gestures. In just a breath's time, his entire body turned into a ball of blood light. This ball of blood light flashed on the spot, and then disappeared without a trace. The moment he arrived in front of the dueling tower, Ningcheng brought out his long spear. At the same time, Traceless stabbed towards Duan Gantai. At the same time, the twin wings of the heavenly clouds crazily activated. He wanted to teleport out of this place first. He didn't want Duan Gantai's corpse, and he also knew that he couldn't kill Duan Gantai in a single move. Hence, when he used this Traceless move, he didn't even need his spear anymore. Su Yukinghong nodded, took out a jade card and carved a few array patterns on it. Unfortunately, Ningcheng didn't know that the Eternal Night public square's array formation would automatically lock onto a person if he knew about it. If he knew about it, he would have understood Duan Gantai's thoughts. Ningcheng took action against Duan Gantai because he feared that Gantai would attack. In any case, he believed that even if Duan Gantai didn't use this array formation to escape, even if he blocked his path, he would still have other means to escape. This was the only thought in Ningcheng's mind at this moment. Bang! The moment Ning Cheng escaped, an invisible force knocked Duan Gantai back and forced him to land on the public square again. A few incomparably powerful killing auras came pressing down from afar. Ning Yin Ching Ching force and a few from far. From a Dong killing intent. From the distance. From Ching Kudangan Tian's Tian. Chung. Ching time do he came. Chung. Chung Chung. Chin Ching Tian time, the Ching Shan, the star Jiang Ching the Chung time Tian public Chung, the star sky square Dong and star time. The next moment, the star sky will turned into nothingness and disappeared without a trace. By this time, Ning Cheng had already reached the edge of the eternal night public square's grand array. His spiritual consciousness swept through the scene and cursed in his heart. This Duan Gantai truly didn't have any good intentions. However, he also felt relieved. Fortunately, he had started ahead of time. Otherwise, he would have had to resolve Duan Gantai's move. If that happened, he wouldn't have been able to escape from the eternal night public square. Haha. Duan Gantai laughed in anger. His face showed only shame and anger, not even half a smile. Surnamed Ning, do you think you can rely on your pretty face? Your grandpa wants to go to the duel tower to kill you. I, Duan Gantai, want to see who has no guts and who only knows how to curry favor with women. If Ning Cheng had attacked from behind, Duan Gantai wouldn't have been able to block Ning Cheng's spear. Obviously, Duan Gantai and Ning Cheng had the same thoughts, and the two attacked almost at the same time. Ning Cheng subconsciously shuddered. If that was the case, then this fellow's previous words were all to make him relax his vigilance. In order to make him relax his vigilance, this fellow not only bargained with him, but even mentioned the Temple of Falling Stars. He had calculated everything, but he never expected that Ning Cheng would not show any gratitude and instead attack him at the same time as him. He wasn't afraid of fighting, but what shocked him the most was that Ning Cheng's cultivation wasn't any lower than his. Therefore, when the two of them fought, he didn't gain any advantage at all. Ning Cheng, shocked by the violent murderous aura, quickly retreated and landed on the street. At the same time, he spat out a mouthful of blood. He didn't know what Duan Gantai was plotting, but seeing Duan Gantai's murderous aura, he vaguely grasped something. Moreover, Su Yukinghong believed that although Duan Gantai was powerful, he couldn't rush out of the Eternal Night Public Square's array formation in just 2 breaths. Even if he suddenly started, it would take him nearly 2 breaths to cross the distance to the Eternal Night Public Square. As for Ning Cheng, it was even more impossible. Since his debut, Duan Gantai had never suffered such grievances and depression. This cultivator named Ning Cheng, he would remember it. One day in the future, he would make sure to get back at him with interest. This time he suffered a loss because of his carelessness. Before, every time he attacked, he would always calculate the opponent's strength. But this time he actually neglected it. This was a mistake he would never make again in the future. Duan Gantai's murderous aura instantly suppressed him, although it couldn't make him vomit blood. But Ning Cheng could feel that if an ordinary Heaven's Mandate cultivator encountered this kind of murderous aura, it wouldn't be impossible for him to vomit blood. He simply forced out a mouthful of blood to prevent Duan Gantai from knowing his strength. At this time, the 2 experts from the Su clan had just arrived at the place where Ning Cheng disappeared. The 2 looked at the starry sky wheel disappearing from their spiritual consciousness in horror, and didn't know what to do. Chase after him? That would be a huge joke. He understood the meaning of the clan head's words. The Eternal Night Public Square's array formation was usually in a locked state, and ordinary people entering and leaving would not be affected at all. If someone moved too fast and passed through the public square's array formation within 2 breaths, the array formation would immediately lock down. Even if they tried to escape, only one person could escape. The other person would also end up locked in the Eternal Night Public Square. As for the one person who escaped, the Su clan could easily catch him. Regardless of whether his guess was true or not, he could not let Duan Gantai take the lead. It was a matter of life and death. Although they couldn't catch up to Ning Cheng, they at least saw how Ning Cheng disappeared. As for Duan Gantai, they didn't even know how he disappeared, let alone chase after him. Duan Gantai, on seeing Ning Cheng spit out a mouthful of blood due to his murderous aura, felt a little relieved. He wasn't surprised that Ning Cheng vomited blood because he knew his own strength. With his formidable strength, it was normal for him to vomit blood under such a sudden murderous aura. With Duan Gantai and Ning Cheng causing such a ruckus and even cursing each other on the street, it was impossible for the Su clan to not know about it. Taking himself as an example, with his current cultivation, if he suddenly attacked an ordinary Heaven's Mandate cultivator with a killing move, that ordinary Heaven's Mandate cultivator would definitely die. He could even take away the corpse of that ordinary Heaven's Mandate cultivator. Duan Gantai ignored Su Baijiao's cries and rushed towards Ningcheng. A powerful murderous aura swept out, forcing the surrounding onlookers to retreat. Boom boom boom. Traceless speed wasn't slow at all. The moment Ningcheng brought it out, it tore through space. But even so, it still collided with Duan Gantai's broadsword, causing a violent explosion. Eternal Night City's Su clan, Su Yuqinghong received the news almost a dozen breaths after Ningcheng and Duan Gantai started fighting. The white-haired man pondered for a moment before speaking up. Our Su clan isn't the only one who can use the Eternal Night Domain's aura-locking Grand Array. Besides, to keep 2 Heaven's Mandate cultivators, there's no need to make such a big fuss. Let them go first. Even if they have any tricks up their sleeves, they won't be able to walk out of the Eternal Night public square. At this time, Su Yuqinghong was sitting with a white-haired middle-aged man. When he received the news, he immediately asked, Uncle Chung, the 2 of them want to leave the Eternal Night Domain and go to the Eternal Night Public Square's dueling tower. Should we let them out of the Eternal Night Domain? Ningcheng spat out a mouthful of blood, and felt as if he had lost all his face. He angrily shouted, Duan Gantai, don't think that you're so great just because you married into the Su clan. What's the use of sneak attacks? If this father doesn't fight with you on the street, you might have something to compensate, but I don't. If you have the guts, come with me to the Eternal Night Dueling Tower. I will let you know that without relying on the women of the Su clan, you are nothing. Chapter 662. After Ningcheng's starry sky wheel flew at full speed, he no longer had any scruples. Ningcheng knew about the power of the starry sky wheel. Even if the entire Su clan was made up of eternal starry sky emperors, they would not be able to catch up to him. After flying at full speed for half a month, Ningcheng finally put away the starry sky wheel and replaced it with an ordinary flight-type weapon. This void was located between the plane and the plane. There were relatively few cultivators here, but it didn't mean that no one came here. Moreover, the cultivators who didn't die here were usually experts. Ningcheng did not want his starry sky wheel to end up being discovered for no reason. Moreover, he also did not want people to hunt him down. Although he didn't see how Duan Gantai escaped, Ningcheng felt sure that Duan Gantai had escaped. It was a kind of intuition. At this time, in addition to the lingering fear in his heart, he was also a little depressed. All along, he had been groping his way forward in his cultivation. The mysterious yellow formless was indeed unparalleled. At least he had never seen any cultivation method that could be compared to the mysterious yellow formless. However, it was also because of this that he lacked some of the most practical secret techniques. Sunset's twilight was one of them. He had risked his life to comprehend it from the time wilderness. However, for this method of escape, just relying on the twin wings of the heavenly clouds was definitely not enough. If the Eternal Night Public Square was a bit wider, then even if he used the twin wings of the heavenly clouds, he would not be able to rush out in one go. Then he would truly be finished, unless he upgraded the twin wings of the heavenly clouds once again. The best material to upgrade the twin wings of the heavenly clouds to nirvana was the wind and thunder apricot tree. Of course, there were other materials, but none of them were as good as the wind and thunder apricot tree. Moreover, he only obtained 2 wind thunder apricot fruits. In the end, he didn't know who obtained the wind thunder apricot tree. Regardless of whether he could advance the twin wings of the heavenly clouds or not, Ningcheng felt that he should advance to the heaven-seated realm first. If he were a heaven-seated cultivator, then even if the Su clan trapped him in the Eternal Night Domain, he would not be helpless. A few days later, Ningcheng once again found a huge void-fragmented star. This time, he didn't dig a cave like last time and slowly cultivate inside. He arranged several concealment and aura-shielding array formations, before directly entering the mysterious yellow bead to cultivate. Ningqing wasn't willing to use 10,000 permanent essence pills, but 1,000,000 perpetual moon pills were more than enough for him. Cultivating inside the mysterious yellow bead, one's entire body would be scoured by the origin aura. Not only would one's celestial essence chi absorption speed become faster, but one's perception would also become more powerful. Ningqing was already a late-stage Heaven's Mandate cultivator, and in just a month, his celestial essence condensation had reached its limit, allowing his cultivation to reach the full circle of Heaven's Mandate realm. Out of the 1,000,000 perpetual moon pills, only a few 100,000 remained. However, after reaching the full circle of Heaven's Mandate realm, no matter how much Ningqing absorbed the celestial essence chi, he could not make any progress. This situation was completely different from when he advanced from the celestial bridge realm to the undead realm, and then from the undead realm to the Heaven's Mandate realm. Previously, as long as he reached the limit, he could just crazily absorb the celestial essence chi, and then try to break through the cultivation barrier. If the first time wasn't enough, he would be able to break through the shackles of his cultivation and advance to a higher level. This time, Ningqing knew that no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't use this method to advance from Heaven's Mandate realm to Heaven-seated realm. Not only was he completely unable to sense the barriers and obstacles in his cultivation, but he also had an intuition that his comprehension could not keep up. Under such circumstances, even if he piled up another 10 billion perpetual moon pills, or even permanent essence pills in front of him, he would not be able to break through to the heaven-seated realm in a short time. At this time, not to mention touching the sky-seated realm, he didn't even know where the border was. This difference was not just 1 or 2 points, but the difference between heaven and earth. Ningqing gave out a sigh and came out of the mysterious yellow bead, but did not continue cultivating. The gap between Destiny's 3 realms and Celestial River's 3 realms was not only the accumulation of cultivation, but also the accumulation of insights. He lacked an opportunity and also lacked a foundation. At this moment, Ningqing had a feeling that if he wanted to break through Heaven's Mandate realm and advance to the Heaven-seated realm, there were 2 ways. One was to find the Severing Filth shadowy pill, which he had seen in the Time Wilderness. It was an important medicinal pill that could help a cultivator break through to the Heaven-seated realm. Or he could find the Great Heaven Essence fruit to refine into the Accordance Heavenly Pill. The Accordance Heavenly Pill could also help a cultivator advance from Heaven's Mandate realm to the Heaven-seated realm. The second way was to find the opportunity to advance to the Heaven-seated realm. However, he had not experienced these things and did not know what this opportunity was. But because he cultivated the mysterious yellow formless, he vaguely understood that the second method was better than the first method. After advancing to the Heaven-seated realm, one's strength would increase, and one's potential would also increase. Maybe I should look for the Great Heaven Essence fruit to refine the Accordance Heavenly Pill, while looking for the opportunity to advance to the Heaven-seated realm. Ningqing muttered to himself. After making the decision, Ningqing put away his array flags, brought out a middle-grade flight-type Dao artifact, and left the Broken Stars where he had gone into seclusion for more than a month. A few days later, a man in gray robes came to the place where Ningqing had gone into seclusion. He carefully studied the place where Ningqing had arranged the array formations before frowning and speaking to himself. What's going on? There's obviously a mysterious yellow origin aura here. Ningqing began his wandering life within the starry skies. Or rather, it was the beginning of his wandering life within the void. There were no starry skies within this positional crevice. Even if there were some planets, they were all in ruins. There were meteorite flows, storm maelstrom, and even void collapses. If one had to say that there was only one holy land for cultivation, then it would be the Eternal Night Domain. Unfortunately, Ningqing did not dare to go to the Eternal Night Domain. Wandering within the void had no sense of time. After a year, Ningqing did not need to put on any makeup at all. He had already turned into a bearded young man. Not in seclusion, wandering alone in the vast and boundless void was a kind of loneliness, but also a test of one's mind. Fortunately, Ningqing still had Chasing Bull with him, which meant that he could chat with Chasing Bull when he had nothing to do. During this 1 year, Ningcheng's cultivation did not increase, but his foundation continued to accumulate. Although he still had a long way to go before reaching the heaven-seated realm, his view of the heaven-seated realm had completely changed from the past. Apart from that, his biggest gain was the successful nirvana of his scarlet crow flame. On this day, Ningcheng was searching for artifact crafting materials in a broken starland when a shadow of an airship swept past his spiritual consciousness. Chasing Bull also saw this shadow and immediately called out, "Master, I just saw someone fly past." Over the past year, Chasing Bull had been wandering the void with Ningcheng. Apart from mining ores and searching for perpetual moon pills, it had not seen anyone else. At this time, seeing someone fly past, even Chasing Bull felt a little excited. No need to look, that person flew back. Ningcheng stopped extracting artifact crafting materials and put away the scarlet crow flame. A void airship, which had just passed through his spiritual consciousness, flew back. Apparently, the other party also saw Ningcheng and Chasing Bull and deliberately returned. After a dozen breaths, an airship-type weapon landed on the broken star where Ningcheng was. A slightly chubby male cultivator, a head shorter than Ningcheng, walked out of the airship-type weapon. This person's cultivation was higher than Ningcheng's, and Ningcheng could tell at a glance that this person was a heaven-seated cultivator. Ningcheng also felt that this cultivator had wandered through the void for a much longer time than him from the void aura emanating from him. "I didn't expect to meet a fellow cultivator here. My name is Song Qingbua, and I've been wandering the void for more than 300 years. The short and chubby male cultivator had a smile on his face, which made people feel that he was a person without any danger. However, Ningcheng knew that it was impossible to wander the void for hundreds of years without any danger. As for cultivators without any danger, they would have long since been eliminated in the void. My name is Ningcheng, and I've been wandering the void for a long time." Ningcheng cupped his fists and spoke politely. With his current cultivation and heritage, even if he couldn't beat this heaven-seated cultivator, he didn't need to fear him, let alone address him as senior. Seeing Ningcheng address him as an equal, Song Qingbua's eyes showed a hint of surprise, but he quickly recovered and said, "Yes, you're a cultivator who hasn't even reached the heaven-seated realm, yet you managed to wander all the way here. It's not a simple matter in itself. Are you also heading to the Temple of Fallen Stars?" He didn't ask how long Ningcheng had been wandering the void. With Ningcheng's cultivation, he must have wandered for at least a few decades to reach this place. Was this place near the Temple of Fallen Stars? Ningcheng felt surprised. He never planned to go to the Temple of Fallen Stars right now. It's not that he didn't want to, but his cultivation was too low. Although surprised, Ningcheng still spoke up calmly. "I did plan to go to the Temple of Fallen Stars. But because I'm not confident, I decided to stay here for a while to gain experience. Is Brother Song also going to the Temple of Fallen Stars? I don't know anything about the Temple of Fallen Stars." While speaking, Ningcheng's spiritual consciousness fell on the jade strip given to him by Duangantai. Sure enough, he saw that the Temple of Fallen Stars was indeed not far from here. Song Qingbua smiled. "Yes, among the wandering cultivators in this area, I, Song Qingbua, have a better understanding of the Temple of Fallen Stars. When I was in the Heaven's Mandate realm, I had already broken through the Temple of Fallen Stars. Although I had only just reached the temple's entrance, I still gained a lot. The only reason I could advance to the heaven-seated realm is because of the Temple of Fallen Stars. You should also be going to the Temple of Fallen Stars for the Great Heaven Essence Fruit, right? But you have to be prepared to fall at any time, hee. The Temple of Fallen Stars has the Great Heaven Essence Fruit." Ningcheng asked in surprise, but immediately explained, "Brother Song, I'm going to the Temple of Fallen Stars just to gain experience. Does the Temple of Fallen Stars really have the Great Heaven Essence Fruit?" Song Qingbua, on seeing that Ningcheng wasn't going to the Temple of Fallen Stars for the Great Heaven Essence Fruit, spoke up with a straight face. "That's right, the Temple of Fallen Stars does indeed have the Great Heaven Essence Fruit. Not only does it have the Great Heaven Essence Fruit, but it also has treasures even more precious than the Great Heaven Essence Fruit. If you're not going for the Great Heaven Essence Fruit, then I advise you not to go there." Ningcheng cupped his fists and thanked him, Many thanks, Brother Song. Originally, I just wanted to go there to gain experience, but I was still hesitating. Now that I know that the Temple of Fallen Stars has the great heaven essence fruit, I must go there. Song Qingbo felt slightly startled, but then laughed. Yes, if there are no benefits, who would go to the Temple of Fallen Stars? It's fate that brought us together. Let's go to the Temple of Fallen Stars together. At least we would have a companion. What do you think? Although Song Qingbo's cultivation was a full level higher than Ning Cheng, he didn't have the attitude of a powerhouse speaking to a weakling. Chapter 663. After Song Qingbo finished, he looked at Ning Cheng with a smile. An ordinary Heaven's Mandate cultivator would never dare to team up with a heaven-seated cultivator. He really wanted to know if this Heaven's Mandate cultivator, who lived alone in the void, would dare to come with him to the Temple of Falling Stars. Ning Cheng didn't even think about it and spoke up. Many thanks, Brother Song. This Ning is willing to go to the Temple of Falling Stars with Brother Song. To be honest, even if Song Qingbo was powerful, he was only on par with Shang Moliang. When he was in the undead realm, he could kill Shang Moliang with the help of various array formations. But now, even if he wasn't Song Qingbo's opponent, he still had the power to fight back. What's more, the two of them hadn't even fought each other yet, so he didn't know who was stronger and who was weaker. Moreover, his current strength was far from what he could compare to when he was in the undead realm. There was indeed an insurmountable gap between Heaven's Mandate realm and Heaven-seated realm, but there was also an insurmountable gap between him and ordinary Heaven's Mandate cultivators. Haha, good. Let's go. Song Qingbo laughed and gave Ning Cheng a thumbs up before entering his flight-type weapon again. At the same time, he also drove the weapon to rush out. Ning Cheng didn't even bring out his weapon. Instead, he stood on Chasing Bull's back and followed Song Qingbo. Song Qingbo had wandered the void for many years, and naturally knew what cultivators feared the most. He didn't invite Ning Cheng into his flight-type weapon. In fact, even if he invited Ning Cheng wouldn't go up. Ning Cheng wasn't afraid of Song Qingbo, but entering Song Qingbo's weapon was another matter altogether. He wasn't arrogant enough to casually board a heaven-seated cultivator's flight-type weapon. You have a good bull, but I'm afraid it's not a wind-seeking longevity bull, right? Song Qingbo's voice came from the front. Apparently, he could tell that Ning Cheng's bull wasn't simple. Ning Cheng chuckled. No, but it does have good speed. He didn't say that this bull was a wind-seeking heavenly bull. Even if Song Qingbo could tell, he wouldn't care. A demonic beast that recognized a master, no matter how good it was, would not have much use in snatching it. Although Song Qingbo was fast, Chasing Bull also wasn't slow. In just one day, Song Qingbo stopped. Ning Cheng had the void coordinates of the Temple of Falling Stars, so he knew that he had arrived at the periphery of the Temple of Falling Stars. What shocked Ning was that he saw two incomparably thick pillars here. Each of the pillars was very thick, and stood erect in the void. Ning Cheng could not even tell where these two pillars extended to. At least, Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness could not sweep out to where these two pillars led to. Brother Song, I've never been to the Temple of Fallen Stars before. Why are there two pillars here? Ning Cheng asked with cupped fists in confusion. Song Qingbo pointed to the two pillars and said, I heard that they existed at the beginning of the primal chaos. Generally, the space between positional planes and interfaces is extremely chaotic, which makes it impossible to survive for a long time. The reason why cultivators could survive at the intersection of the positional planes of the eternal night domain was because of these two pillars. As for where these two pillars came from, I don't know either. It was impossible for anyone to know where these two pillars led to. No one could follow the pillars to the other end. I can tell you one thing, the Temple of Fallen Stars is the easiest place to cross positional planes because of these two pillars. Ning Cheng looked at the endless pillars and felt a sense of insignificance in his heart. He even suspected that the two cultivators who competed for the purple Een Spirit Spring Bead came here to leave the eternal night domain and enter another positional plane through this place. Brother Song, do we enter the Temple of Fallen Stars from the middle of these two pillars? Ning Cheng asked as he pointed to the two incomparably thick pillars. You're right. If you want to enter the Temple of Fallen Stars, You must enter from the middle of these two pillars. The space behind these two pillars is extremely chaotic. Once you enter, you will have to be careful of your life. Song Qingbo nodded. Then when do we go in? Ningqing asked. Song Qingbo put away his flight-type weapon and signaled Ningqing not to worry. Don't worry, we'll wait for a while. I have an appointment with 2 friends, but they haven't come yet. Hearing that Song Qingbo had an appointment, Ningqing put away chasing bull and stood to the side. He had heard about the Temple of Fallen Stars from Duangantai, and it was his first time here. As for the dangers inside the Temple of Fallen Stars, he didn't know anything about them. Following behind Song Qingbo, at least he didn't have to take the lead. Thinking that Song Qingbo was already a heaven-seated powerhouse and must have experienced the process of advancing to the heaven-seated realm, Ningqing decided to ask, Brother Song, I want to advance to the heaven-seated realm, but I've already reached the full circle of heaven's mandate realm for a long time. Yet, I still feel that the heaven-seated realm is out of reach. Brother Song is already a heaven-seated powerhouse. Ningqing would like to ask Brother Song, how can one touch the edge of the heaven-seated realm in the heaven's mandate realm? Song Qingbo looked at Ningqing from top to bottom and smiled. This is my experience. Ningqing took out an ore and gave it to Song Qingbo. Brother Song, this is an artifact crafting material I obtained by chance. I'll give it to Brother Song. Song Qingbo initially didn't care about it, but when his spiritual consciousness swept over the ore, he suddenly exclaimed, This is a thunder firmament crystal. You actually have such a good thing? The thunder firmament crystal was a starry sky grade 9 artifact crafting material. Ningqing had obtained it on his way to Grand Culmination Starry Sky. This thing wasn't very valuable to him, so he decided to give it to Song Qingbo. After Song Qingbo finished speaking, he didn't wait for Ningqing to answer, and quickly put away the thunder firmament crystal. Ningqing had wandered the void for so many years, so it wasn't surprising for him to have some good things. Since Song Qingbo accepted Ningqing's things, he couldn't help but feel guilty about it. After pondering over it for a while, he spoke. In fact, advancing to the heaven-seated realm isn't very difficult. As long as you have the severing filth obscuring heavenly pill or the accordance heavenly pill, or even other starry sky opportunities, you can advance to the heaven-seated realm. However, there are strong and weak cultivators in the heaven-seated realm, and it's not something that can be solved with a single medicinal pill. I didn't understand it back then, and used the convenience of medicinal pills to advance to the heaven-seated realm. But it's too late to regret it now. Ningqing quickly asked, Does that mean you can't use medicinal pills to advance to the heaven-seated realm? Song Qingbo showed a smile. Advancing to the heaven-seated realm without using medicinal pills. Haha, you can't even be considered a genius anymore. You're simply a genius among geniuses. You haven't understood what I meant by not using medicinal pills. It means that if you haven't comprehended the heaven-seated realm, or touched the heaven-seated realm, if you use medicinal pills to forcibly raise your cultivation to the heaven-seated realm, it would be like pulling up seedlings to help them grow. It would suppress your future potential indefinitely. Ningqing seemed to understand something and subconsciously spoke up. Isn't it the right way to use medicinal pills to advance to the heaven-seated realm when you have some understanding of the heaven-seated realm? Yes, since you can wander the void with heaven's mandate cultivation, you really do have some insight. Reaching the heaven-seated realm is equivalent to having one's own Tao, or rather, having the direction of one's own Tao. If you can't even figure out your own Tao, forcibly advancing to the heaven-seated realm would be akin to neglecting the essentials. Although Song Qingbo didn't explain it in detail, Ningqing fully understood it. The reason why he couldn't touch the heaven-seated realm wasn't because his cultivation wasn't high enough, but because he didn't have enough insights. He only had a vague idea of his own Tao, but it was also a very weak idea. Now that Song Qingbo mentioned it, he once again remembered the returning to one leather scroll in his storage ring. Previously, under Zhongli Baiqi's reminder, he had a vague understanding of it. But now, the longer he stayed in the heaven's mandate realm, the clearer this understanding became. He used to think that even if he comprehended the returning to one spirit technique, it wouldn't be as powerful as his sunset's twilight. But now he suddenly felt that his original understanding was a bit wrong. Returning to one could indeed be regarded as a spirit technique, but returning to one was not just a spirit technique. The things he cultivated were extremely complicated, and he had to use a hammer here and there. If he could use the returning to one leather scroll to integrate all the things he cultivated and form them into something of his own, wouldn't it give him a clearer direction towards the heaven-seated realm? Perhaps this was the direction of Tao that Song Qingbo mentioned. The more Ning Cheng understood, the closer he felt to the heaven-seated realm. He even had an idea that if he continued to stay in this place for half a year to a year, he might really be able to touch the heaven-seated realm. Brother Song? Why is there a puny heaven's mandate cultivator here? A hoarse voice interrupted Ning Cheng's enlightenment. Ning Cheng suddenly opened his eyes. Immediately he found two more people here, a man and a woman. The male cultivator had dark skin and a hoarse voice. Most likely, he was the one who spoke those words a moment ago. The female cultivator had fair skin and a beautiful appearance. Although she did not deliberately dress up, her curvaceous figure was no worse than Su Baijiao's. Both of them had heaven-seated cultivation, but the male cultivator looked slightly older. Oh, this is a friend I met not long ago. His name is Ning Cheng. He happened to be planning to enter the Temple of Fallen Stars, so I invited him to come with me. Song Qingbo smiled and explained to the two cultivators. After that, he turned to Ning Cheng and said, Dao friend Ning Cheng, these are my two friends, Bian Shiyan and Qi Qiubing. They are also the people I was waiting for. Now that everyone is here, let's go in together. Bian Shiyan's face sank slightly, but he still spoke up in a hoarse voice. Brother Song, I don't have an opinion on going in together, but I don't agree with teaming up with a Heaven's Mandate cultivator. If it were any other place, it wouldn't matter. But in a place like the Temple of Fallen Stars, we might lose our lives if we don't pay attention. One more person doesn't mean more assurance, but more danger. Ning Cheng could reach the vicinity of the Temple of Fallen Stars with just Heaven's Mandate cultivation. Song Qingbo already had a good opinion of Ning Cheng, plus Ning Cheng also gave him a Thunder Firmament crystal. As such, he did not mind bringing Ning Cheng into the Temple of Fallen Stars. Bian Shiyan's words made him frown slightly. After listening to Song Qingbo's words, Ning Cheng had already gained a lot. Besides, he also knew that even if he teamed up with Song Qingbo's trio, these three heaven-seated cultivators would not help him if he encountered any danger. Now that Song Qingbo and Bian Shiyan had different opinions about him, Ning Cheng immediately spoke up, Please, I'll go in alone. Chapter 664. Song Qingbo, Bian Shiyan and Qi Qiubing seemed to have come here for a very important matter. Now that he heard Ning Cheng's words, he also didn't want to have a conflict with Bian Shiyan over Ning Cheng's matters. Therefore he simply spoke up. In that case we'll go in first. Dao friend Ning, please be careful. Remember, you can't use your spiritual consciousness inside the Temple of Fallen Stars, and your cultivation will also be suppressed by the laws here. After Song Qingbo finished speaking, he passed through the gap between the two pillars, and did not greet Bian Shiyan. Apparently, he felt a little dissatisfied with Bian Shiyan's words. Seeing Song Qingbo enter, Bian Shiyan and Qi Qiubing also followed. From beginning to end, Qi Qiubing did not say a word. Ning Cheng did not immediately follow them, but rather prepared some things that might be useful, and put them on his waist. Song Qingbo said that after entering, he would not be able to use his spiritual consciousness, and even his cultivation would be suppressed. This made Ning Cheng feel very grateful towards Song Qingbo. If he couldn't even use the storage ring after entering, what if he needed elixirs and magic treasures? Because he could not use his spiritual consciousness, Ning Cheng had to take out the Nirvana spear to protect himself. In the absence of spiritual consciousness, the Nirvana spear would definitely be more powerful compared to ordinary weapons. After everything was ready, Ning Cheng passed through the two pillars and entered the Temple of Fallen Stars. As soon as Ning Cheng came in, a violent storm swept over. Ning Cheng simply could not stand firm, and was about to be swept away by this blade-like storm. Countless gravel hit his body, causing him a faint pain. When he looked back, there were no more pillars behind him. This meant that even if he wanted to retreat now, it was impossible. Sure enough, Ningqing couldn't use his spiritual consciousness. Even with his starry sky sea of consciousness, he couldn't use his spiritual consciousness in this place. He could only barely stabilize his body and land. Only now did he have a chance to look around. Everything around him was gray and undulating like the Gobi Desert, with gravel and undulating stone mounds. The howling wind swept over the boundless gravel and gravel bags, sweeping up the gravel and sending it whistling past. From time to time, these gravel would hit Ningcheng's body. If Ningcheng was not a nirvana cultivator in the body-forging realm, then these gravel would have definitely injured him. Fortunately, these gales were not spatial storms. There were no spatial elements involved. They were just gales. Occasionally, one or two huge stones flew towards him, but Ningqing managed to block them with his nirvana spear. Ningqing took a few steps forward, completely without any sense of direction. After entering this place, it was as if he had entered a huge desert. However, the sand here was not fine sand, but gravel. Since entering the Yixing mainland, Ningqing had experienced a lot of crises. Strictly speaking, the strong wind in the shattered stone desert was nothing much. When he first entered the Time Wilderness, he also experienced the suppression of his spiritual consciousness in the Sea of Twilight. However, by relying on himself, he could slowly stretch out his spiritual consciousness, relying on his starry sky sea of consciousness. At this time, Ningqing was carefully moving forward while constantly stretching out his spiritual consciousness. Ningcheng's efforts were not in vain. A day later, he finally stretched out a part of his spiritual consciousness. From the initial 1 foot, it slowly grew to 10 feet. On the 10th day, his spiritual awareness could already extend to about 10 feet, and at this time, the surrounding storm also gradually weakened. He seemed to have reached the edge of the rocky desert. Ningcheng had just breathed in a sigh of relief when his spiritual consciousness swept past a very fast spatial blade light. In desperation, Ningcheng could only fall on his back, while the spatial blade light brushed past his chest. Ningcheng broke out in a cold sweat. If he could not extend out his spiritual consciousness, even if this attack did not split him in half, he would not have felt any better. Moreover, he still had the nirvana spear in his hand. Otherwise, it would have been even more dangerous. Sure enough, as Song Qingbua said, this place was filled with dangers everywhere. After coming in, one had to be prepared to fall at any time. He did not encounter any danger before because he was still on the periphery. But after entering the inner area, he suddenly encountered a spatial wind blade. This was just the first one, but there must be more behind it. The spatial wind blade almost split him in half, but he could not find even a shadow of the great heaven essence fruit. In Ningcheng's view, in this kind of endless gravel desert, wanting to grow spiritual grasses was something that was absolutely impossible. If Song Qingbua did not lie to him, then he must have gone in the wrong direction. Unfortunately, Ningqing did not have a map of the Temple of Fallen Stars. As such, the only thing he could do was to keep moving forward. The storm that swept away the gravel had disappeared, and the abrupt spatial wind blades grew even denser. These spatial wind blades were traceless and without warning. For cultivators with spiritual consciousness, they did not pose much of a threat. But for cultivators who could not extend out their spiritual consciousness, these spatial wind blades posed a constant threat to their lives. Although Ningcheng's spiritual consciousness could now extend out to about 10 feet, he still remained cautious. A range of 10 feet was not a safe distance for his spiritual consciousness. After walking for a few dozen miles, Ningcheng found that the Gobi Desert still remained under his feet, but the storm had completely disappeared. One statue after another lay strewn across the gravel beach. Occasionally, half of a pillar stood crookedly between these broken statues, giving the place a desolate look. Right at this moment, a shrill scream sounded out. In this empty place without any obstacles, Ningcheng could hear it clearly. This scream belonged to Song Qingbua. Knowing that something had happened to Song Qingbua, Ningcheng immediately became even more vigilant. He slightly deviated his direction and moved in the direction of Song Qingbua's scream. If he could, he did not mind helping Song Qingbua. After half an incense stick worth of time, Ningcheng stopped and looked at the statue in front of him. He could not help but feel a chill in his heart. In front of him was a statue that had lost half of its face and was stuck in the ground at a slanted angle. Even its feet could not be seen, and it only had one arm. Ningcheng had seen too many of these statues, so he did not need to feel a chill. What made Ningcheng feel a chill was not the statue, but the statue's hand. The statue's hand was dripping with blood, and a piece of rag hung from one of its fingers. Ningcheng and Song Qingbua had only been separated for a few days, so he could tell at a glance that this piece of rag belonged to Song Qingbua. Ningcheng felt sure that Song Qingbua's scream was because the statue in front of him had grabbed him. A clay statue actually managed to grab Song Qingbua, a heaven-seated powerhouse, and even injure Song Qingbua. It was just too strange. As Ningcheng's spiritual consciousness passed through the clay statue, he quickly felt that something was wrong. This statue was indeed made of clay, but it contained clay blood vessels, clay bones, and even a clay heart. Ningcheng had entered the starry skies for cultivation, and his nerves had already become extremely tough. But this clay statue still made his scalp tingle. As an array formation master and an artifact crafting master, although he did not know how to refine puppets, it did not mean that he did not know how to refine puppets. This statue was not a puppet, absolutely not. He did not see any array formation engraved on this statue, nor did he see any traces of refining. Thinking of this strange scene, Ningcheng was just about to take a step back when his surroundings suddenly solidified. Immediately, the space around him no longer seemed to belong to him. The space around him suddenly caved in, and he immediately approached the blood-stained palm of the statue. Laws of space! Ningcheng cried out in shock. This palm seemed like it wanted to cut open his abdomen. In a panic, Ningcheng no longer cared about anything else and smashed the Nirvana spear in his hand towards the palm. It was his most powerful spirit technique, Sunset's Twilight. The collapsing space stopped in an instant, and the statue's palm finally failed to pass through Ningcheng's chest. Ningcheng's Nirvana spear also took advantage of this momentary pause to strike the statue's palm. Bang! A dull sound emerged, and Ningcheng was blasted away by the powerful backlash. Seeing that he was about to hit another statue, Ningcheng once again swung the Nirvana spear in his hand. With another impact, Ningcheng barely managed to land on the gravel ground. Ningcheng clenched the Nirvana spear in his hand, feeling horrified in his heart. Just now, the clay statue had compressed the space around him, not because of the laws of space. It was just like his maximal flame spirit technique, which simulated a space-type spirit technique. If it really was a space-type spirit technique, then even his Sunset's Twilight would not have been able to reverse the situation. What shocked Ningcheng was not the simulated space-type spirit technique, but the clay statue's palm. When his Nirvana spear and the clay statue's palm collided, Ningcheng clearly felt that this was not a clay statue, but a corporeal body. In other words, although these clay statues looked like statues, they had corporeal bodies just like humans. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.